like to remain that during playing time. Already, the MCG is filling up. It is a sellout, a blockbuster fixture between the Cats and the Pies. Mick, one of our cult figures, I think it's fair to say, on Grandstand AFL every Friday night. This man's name is a constant thread through our broadcasts over the last couple of years. Ferrell Merritt, who you describe as one of the best kicks in the history of the game. He is in the house tonight.
Ferrell Merritt.
There are only 3 surviving members of the 1953 Premiership team when Collingwood defeated Geelong. Ferrell Merritt, Arthur Gooch and Terry Waits. So they're all here tonight in attendance to watch their Magpies. 1953, how far back are we going for that? 80 years 70 years on?
70. I was born in 53, so so
it's almost as if you have a big milestone birthday coming up sometime soon.
Well, it might be, but Merritt Hassett was their store.
Yep.
A sports goods store, and if anyone wanted to buy a football, Sherrin was Collingwood as well, so it was Sherrin. They'd go there, and all the gear used to be there. Ferrell Merritt, I never saw him play, but it was only through rumour that they told me he was an outstanding stab kick. So whenever I compared players like the ruckman trying to kick the ball, instead of kicking the ball 50 metres, they try to kick the ball 30 metres, and I would say, you are not Ferrell Merritt. And for every side I said that to, I'd hear the boys going, what's a Ferrell Merritt? like Dougie Hawkins. I still remember Dougie Hawkins when I said, actually, I probably shouldn't use that one. It's not one I need to be on air.
But if this is 70 years ago, so all these guys are well into their 80s, some of them in their 90s by now, and they're all in attendance tonight, the 3 of them from the 1953 Premiership team, where they beat the Cats.
That'll be you, Mick, and we'll be wheeling you in about, 20, 30 years and having a chat to us in the broadcast.
My grandchildren treat me, I'd be wheeling you next year.
Special milestone birthday for Mick this week, which
it's around the corner.
Marked on our calendars.
Corbin and I are onto it.
You don't have to worry about it.
Big milestone, we're onto it. You know how these guys sitting behind me always kept an eye on the Ashes, and we'd say, hey, keep an eye on the footy. I'm sorry, I've gone a bit quiet in the last half an hour. I've been watching the FIFA Women's World Cup, the second quarter-final today. Another big upset. I mean, it's just upset after upset. So Japan is out. Sweden has knocked out Japan 2-1 in the quarter-final, which means, Corbin, there's no more title winners left in this competition. Sydney next Sunday night at Homebush is going to crown brand new world champions. So Sweden, after they knocked out the USA in penalties in Melbourne last Sunday night, have just knocked out Japan 2-1, and there's tears everywhere you look around the stadium. The Japanese just can't believe it because they were the favourites, the 2011 champs. They were the finalists in 2015. Earlier today, Spain knocked out the Netherlands in extra time. It was 1-1 at full time, and then a Spanish teenager slotted through a beauty to take them down 2-1. So Sweden will play Spain in one semi-final, and of course the other 2 quarterfinals are to be played tomorrow from 5 o'clock Eastern. The Matildas in France at Lang Park in Brisbane, and then later in the evening it's England and Colombia. And the 2 winners will play in a semi-final on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Will it be Australia and England? Will they be 2 of the 4 remaining teams? So one semi-final's been set up. It's going to be Spain and Sweden.
That is, you can hear that tomorrow through the ABC Listen app. Look out for the big World Cup button. Click on that. It's green and gold. You can listen along to all the coverage of the Matildas in France.
Australia and England would be great, wouldn't it? Because there's no tension at the moment between those two countries. It's all relaxed.
Well, if you ask the Poms, they won the Ashes. But the Diamonds won the World Cup over England the first time the Roses made the final.
Didn't win it, Kel. Thrashed.
They did.
Thrashed them.
Mick, you were up in the morning at 2 a.m. I love it.
16 points.
Yes, it was.
After
so this is the tie break. Australia and England in a semi.
Played with them in the semi. Just went down by the 1 point, then come back and give them a shellacking.
Yes, exactly.
A shellacking.
You're all over it. I love it. I love it, Mick.
The Cats banner has just been lifted. There is a guard of honour that's been set by a sequence of fans up in the big smoke. There's so many sights like cats eating birds under Friday night lights. Here's the banner.
We can always trust the cheer squad to something gold.
It's been a big week for the Cats. Patrick Dangerfield's name's been mentioned in dispatches about possibly joining the commission. He shot that down almost as quick as the story came along. And Isaac Smith, of course, announcing his retirement. The Norm Smith medalist from last year, 4-time premiership player, 3 times with the Hawks, and of course last year with the Cats. Tom Stewart leads them out, and Geelong about to burst through the banner. Of course, Patrick Dangerfield, their skipper, is out there. He's right in the middle, just walking out with a couple of Geelong youngsters, including one young lad who's on crutches. So Patrick Dangerfield is accompanying him out into the middle of the MCG. What a thrill that would be. The reigning premiers in their home strip, of course, in the hoops, with the white shorts on this evening. They've got 17 premiership players featuring as we await the arrival of the top of the table Magpies. Set it up for us, Lingy, for the Cats tonight.
Well, simply, I mean...
Can they win, Lingy?
I think they can win, absolutely.
No, but are you picking them?
No, well, I always pick them, but that's... there's a lot of people who have suggested to me that is 100% heart, not always the head. No, they can. They can because of what Collingwood has been showing over the last 2 weeks, but even a couple of weeks before that, I think. There was a bit of a build to those couple of losses. Nick Dacos and Steele Sidebottom are big outs. They are huge outs because I know what you're saying about Steele. He's not peak Steele anymore, but he still sets that wing. He sets the outside for his team. Josh Dacos usually on the other side, so that everybody else within their formation can trust that Steele's going to get there on the outside to help out defensively. Steele's going to be on the outside if they need a release kick. And he's a lovely kicker of the ball. He'll use it well. He'll set them up. So that there's that almost comfort that Steele Sidebottom brings to the inside midfielder. So he is a loss. I'm expecting a very, very different Collingwood team to the one that's played in the last 2 weeks. I reckon that's the little kick that they needed, a little sharpen up. And I reckon the good Collingwood might be back as they're heading out onto the MCG right now.
Let's have a listen to this roar. They got the pyrotechnics going on alongside their guard of honour. All the Collingwood cheer squad out there welcoming the Pies onto the ground. And now the fireworks that follow. Magpies home game. They're all in black with the white stripes and the black shorts on. Of course, they'll have to do it tonight without Nick Dacos. Mick Moldhouse, you mentioned a little earlier in the preview that your concerns with the Magpies extend back longer to the Dacos injury midway through the game last week.
Well, the thing is, the worry to me is that they've relied so heavily on last quarter efforts to win so many games. That myth is going to dry up at some stage, and they're going to be challenged and they're going to lose it, and then people are going to say, well, they're human. And what the Pies cannot afford to do is let Geelong, or for that matter any side in the next 3 weeks before finals, take control of the game and then think, oh look, we can outrun them, because their game style is it's demanding on the opposition. What they do, they push up, and they make you have to get through the thing and then score behind them. Now, if you're not winning the ball out of the middle, then you don't have to push up. You are already in a position to push Collingwood back, and that's, unfortunately, we've seen. There's no doubt Mitchell's gone off the boil as far as clearance goes. So therefore, if he hasn't got the ball in his hand, giving it off, he can't spread quick. So that puts a dampener on that. I'm with Lingy. I think Collingwood will perform well tonight, and I think they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back because they've got their 17th to 23rd player are better than Geelong's 17th to 23rd. And that's not being disrespectful. It's just simply, I just reckon that they are probably not as sharp as what they were early in the season. Geelong they've been up and down all year. There's nothing about Geelong that says, we are back to last year and we're not performing well under last year. It's been a real steady ship.
Nick Dacos' absence, we've spoken a lot about him already tonight and throughout the week. How do they cover him, Lingy? If you're trying to replace Nick Dacos, the premier player in the competition at 20 years of age, how do you cover that absence?
Well, you don't think that, okay, we're just going to get somebody else to play exactly like Nick Dacos. They do have a player who has the legs and the run through the middle of the ground to play like him, and that's Jack Crisp.
What about his brother?
Powerful run. So I was wondering with Josh, I love and rate Josh incredibly highly. But do you risk losing what he gives on the wing by bringing him inside. I think he can cut teams up from the wing.
I'm with you,
so
Jack
well.
Crisp. Jack Crisp has got to go in the middle.
So, hit Geelong with the combo of Mitchell and Adams as the hard bull, but don't let them spend more than...
Not together, though.
No, definitely not together. Never together. Sorry, I mean a swapping combination.
Yep.
So that's one of the midfield spots.
Yep.
DeGoey, Pendlebury and Jack Crisp are the other ones who, just through those three, they're the impact guys. So Adams and Mitchell one at a time are doing the hard in and under work and then go to half forward. Josh will probably go inside a fair bit throughout the game, but I want to see him on the wing more because I just think he's so dynamic as a winger.
Interesting, like last week when Dacos got injured, we saw Crisp attend a number of centre bounces. I don't know if this is code for anything, but he's not out there at the moment doing the warm-ups with the centre square group. He's actually in a different group at the moment with the defenders.
Well, you normally do have him out. The other bloke that went in the middle last week, real cameo, but gave them absolute forward speed is McCready. Like he is explosive and tackles like a machine. I don't know whether this is. Sometimes you put that out there so the opposition look at you and perhaps get thrown out by 1% for 1 inch, one inch of the or one.
Yeah, we're watching the warm up. So Lipinski's in there a lot. Yep. Now does Lipinski set one of the wings perhaps, and that pushes Josh Dacos in? You're right. It was a good pickup. So Jack Crisp isn't warming up amongst the midfield group. I'm surprised by that. I just think Jack Crisp is a superb midfielder. And his run off half back is excellent. Yep. But when you're starting that run from just the back of the centre square and it's penetrating the forward part of the centre square, that's more damaging than running from the goal square in your defensive end to the back 50. I'd prefer him giving that run through the middle.
Lee, give us your midfield for Geelong.
Midfield for Geelong tonight?
All of it. And not 1 minute cameos.
No. So clearly Patrick Dangerfield is a big part of that.
So we know now that,
But almost the two most important players in that Geelong midfield now, given Danger's still crucial, but is at the back end of his career,
absolutely,
is Max Holmes and Tanner Bruin.
Yeah, see, Max Holmes to me has to be at 30 plus, not in the 20s. He has to be in the 30s and he has to carry the footy.
Yes, yeah, because that's him at his
because
best.
I'm trying to still find who's going to go in there when they need relief. Are those players that are going to go in there going to be slaughtered?
Tom Atkins is the other one who works extremely hard.
Well, he really, Tom Atkins, the best way Tom Atkins plays is to have a target.
Yep.
Now, the interesting thing here will be, I don't know whether he's, I'm not saying he's not capable. I don't know whether it's a waste of time going to a Pendlebury. But I don't know, and I think DeGoey's probably too explosive. But in those little cameos through the middle, DeGoey, I would have him, Atkins, on DeGoey, not as a stand next to tag, but as a net tags. In other words, you're facing each other. Yep. DeGoey has to go through because I was going to say no one tackles better than him. Atkins is one of the elite tacklers in the competition, and he will stand his ground. So that automatically takes out the runner.
That's the worry for the Cats. So they're down, when you think of other two crucial midfielders, Mark Blitzarves and Cameron Guthrie.
That's it.
So you add two more high-quality midfielders, then you can sustain a way of playing against a really good Collingwood midfield. Without those two, it can fall away.
Will Duncan come in there at all?
Yeah, a little bit, but he doesn't have his same legs. He'll be more on the outside, the wing and the half-back. And when two of their most important players, Tanner Bruin's playing game number 48 and Max Holmes is playing game number 49. So they are wonderful young players who are going to have terrific careers, but at that early stage, they can't necessarily sustain it for huge amounts of time in the middle of the ground, like a Jordan DeGoey or I would say a Jack Crisp.
Myers, will they put him through there at all?
I think they'll get him coming up from half forward.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't surprise me, you know him far better than me. He's perfect. I'm astounded that he hasn't had the chances this year. I'm not just talking about tonight. He's a sub tonight.
Yep.
But he to me is a pretty hard-nosed player. Not a big possession getter. I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's almost reliable for 20 possessions.
Yeah, I think the argument has shifted from he's not getting chances to he's not taking his chances.
Oh, okay.
So I think when there was opportunities early on in the season to step to the next level. You know, he's played over 100 games now. He didn't quite make that jump when they really needed him early on in the season.
Okay.
The crowd is filling up beautifully here at the MCG. It is a sellout tonight for Collingwood and Geelong, last year's premiers up against the premiership favourites. We want to hear from you throughout the night on the SMS as well, which is 0437 774 774. Stan from Victoria. Hi team, Craig Kelly not being interviewed tonight. Was looking forward to another heated discussion with Kel. That was great. Go the Pies, go Kel. So there's a little bit of feedback from Stan for you straight out of the gates.
2 weeks later and we're still talking about it.
0437 774 774, the SMS number. We're seeing some brilliant highlights of classic Geelong and Collingwood games from seasons past. Of course, there was a grand final back in 2011. Mick, your last game in charge of the Pies, in which Mitch Duncan played in.
207. 207. There's a redhead next to me in that game. And we went in well and truly underdogs. Beat West in a draw. We beat West Coast after time playing this Geelong side, and all I saw at the end was this red-headed bloke yelling out how great they were. You know? So I mean,
is that 07 prelim?
Yeah, and then they went on and won by a record amount against Port.
I was on the boundary for ABC that night. That is one of the greatest games that I've attended at the MC.
You know, two players sitting on the bench. I couldn't believe when I looked at the bench just then at the end.
Yeah.
Buckley and Rocker both injured.
Wow.
That was a Brad Otten's game, wasn't it?
Yes.
07 prelim.
Yeah.
What a night. Fingers crossed we get something half as good again tonight as Patrick Dangerfield and Darcy Moore attend the toss. Tim Hodges is on the boundary for us, as he is every Friday night. G'day, Hodgie.
G'day, Corbin. G'day, crew. Nice to be with you. Darcy Moore, he does win the toss and then just does the little flick of the thumb. So I think it's Collingwood kicking to the city end. It's very hard to tell. It never gets tired coming to the MCG on a Friday night for a blockbuster. It's sold out, the MCC, expecting, and they're very accurate, between 80 and 82,000 people tonight, and we are well on track. The top deck right up to the back row full, so it's going to be an amazing atmosphere, and it's a beautiful Melbourne night. A little bit chilly, Mick, but currently 12 degrees. No changes. So Nathan Murphy is playing for the Pies. Amazing, really, when you consider he was ruled out for the rest of the home and away season on Monday, and he's playing on Friday night. The subs for the Magpies, Jack Ginnivan gets his chance. For the Cats, Brandon Parfitt, the substitute again. And just keep an eye on Beau McCreary. He had plenty of attention from the physio. He hurt his thumb in the warm-up. It's been heavily strapped, so he'll be a watch early.
Thanks, Hodgie. The two teams break. Isaac Smith, who announced his retirement during the week as is customary for him, rips off the tracksuit pants that he always warms up in. What a career he's had, of course, four-time premiership player and now a Norm Smith medalist in his 278th game. He will play out the season, however long that lasts for Geelong. Who are we tipping tonight, Lingy?
Well, I said I was going with the heart, so I'll stick with it. Cats.
Mick?
Pies.
Kel?
We're only just separated by two teams.
Pies. Tom Stewart starting in the midfield alongside De Goey.
Oh, there's a little shake-up straight out of the gates. Josh Dacos is going to start on the wing. He's got his opposite number in Isaac Smith alongside him.
Pendlebury starting in the middle as well, and Atkins alongside him.
That's a worry by Stewart because they need him as an intercept player.
There's some big balls in that midfield for both teams.
Yeah.
Here we go to start round 22 on Grandstand AFL. You're with Kelly Underwood. It's the premiership favourites up against the reigning champs.
And Stanley beats Cameron in the air, into space. Crisp runs in and gets it. We thought he might have started in the midfield, but he didn't waste any time sprinting and getting his hands on the Sherrin. Standing up in the tackle, so it's tossed up in the air again. This time Stanley up over the top of Cameron. Atkins has got it. Three Pies have got him.
Pendlebury straight to Dangerfield to just take the body around the stoppages. Has perhaps been a free kick from out of the area. Umpire here.
Against Atkins it was, so Darcy Cameron, the ruckman, will take it.
Stewart will pick up De Goey because De Goey won't last in the middle and he'll come back on him.
Cameron bangs it long, almost centre half forward, and Stewart takes the mark. So he started in the middle and he's intercepting across half back.
Yeah, Chris Scott spoke last week to us about the fact that as a centre bounce player, he is just elite.
Goes down the corridor, and that's an elite leap taken by Quaynor, and they're off. He can release the run of McCreary on the broadcast wing, the northern side of the MCG. He has a bounce. He goes to the top of the goal square. Oh, wonderful spoil by Ratugolea, because Myercheck was going to gobble that up at the top of the goal square, and Ratugolea had to close with great speed and knuckles it over for the first blemish of the night. Collingwood one behind. Cats yet to score.
Well, those two Collingwood players are out on this wing by themselves, yards clear, as was my check. So defensively, Geelong were ordinary.
I wonder if that was set up by Collingwood. Just don't worry. Let's try and get them on the attack.
Yeah.
Duncan to DeConing, short kick to Ollie Henry. There's the mixed response. Of course, the last time they met, he kicked that goal and then was mowed down by Darcy Moore moments later after the celebration of the Magpie Army, saying, look, my stripes run horizontally now, and they weren't that happy with that. The kick heads down to Tui on the wing. Long kick to half forward. Nice build up by the Cats, and Stanley marks against the boundary line. Pokes the yellow Sharon into the pocket. Couple queuing up. Hands on it from Cameron. No mark. Close. Gives it back to him. Jazz has kicked the first of the night. Cameron with the opener. And the Cats have got the first goal inside 2 minutes. Geelong one straight. Collingwood one behind. Grandstand AFL, Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling.
I reckon Craig McRae, okay, great goal by Jeremy Cameron, would be disappointed with the ease with which Geelong moved the ball down the ground there, Mick. It was the kicks weren't that difficult to bite off, and all ended up uncontested marks the whole way down the ground before that kick inside 50, where Jeremy Cameron almost marked it anyway, and then got the handball and kicked the goal. It was pretty simple.
Well, the one that went to Tui, the man on the mark wasn't let him move. Tui used his brains, virtually walked next to the player and kicked the football without any interference. So Tui's such a penetrating kick. He found two Geelong players, as you said. One just tapped it over the other. Well, when I say tapped, he missed the mark.
47th goal for the season. Bounce is crooked. It'll be recalled in the centre. So Jeremy Cameron had about 30 after about the first month, and we were talking about the century he might bring up. He's been quiet since he copped that nasty hit at friendly fire a few weeks ago. Okay, Dangerfield's toe poked it out of the centre, and it's a free kick going against the Pies. It'll go to Cameron.
Well, I think he's a bit stiff there, Maynard, because they were next to each other. He may have held it, just to stop him on the lead, but
not a lot there, though.
No, there's nothing. Look, I'd say there's nothing there. Honestly, that's the fourth umpire getting involved.
It was a one-on-one competition, and now Cameron directly in front, 49.5 metres out, and he's missing to the right, hanging it out. Of all our pre-match Mick Malthouse, Cameron Ling, we didn't talk about the most exciting player for the first 6 weeks in the competition, Jeremy Cameron.
Yes, true, and he's had a rough run since he did get knocked out. He kept getting smacked in the mouth a couple of weeks later, and then he, of course, went to a pub and copped another one.
Yeah. Moore takes a bit of ground, drives it up to the wing. Kolajasny hands on it, no mark, spills down to Mitchell of the Pies. Hand pass to Dacos, the only one out there in Josh. Gives it to Quaynor, back to Dacos, kicks to centre half back, and crisp marks. Over the top of Stengel, long to a 2-on-1. Hill the target, brings it to ground. Magpies swarm, but Atkins wanted it more. Wins it in the middle of the ground for the Cats. Hand pass to Duncan, kicks out wide for Cameron. Brought down by Murphy. Maynard of Collingwood, hand pass to Hoskin Elliott. Hurried kick back in the centre square. To go, he can't trap it. Still a loose ball outer edge of the centre square. They all jump on top of it. Umpire says play on, comes out the back door. Pack forms again. And a ball up on the southern wing. Hot start in front of a big crowd. We're 4.5 minutes in. Geelong by 6 points.
Got a theory on Stewart in the middle too, Lingy, I'll tell you.
Tossed in the air. Stanley gets it down to Atkins. He was met heavily, got the handball away to Izzy Smith. He goes out wide. Ollie Henry was in front, couldn't take the mark. Quaynor mops up, strides out along the northern wing. His target was Elliott, but it's flicked down by Kolajasny and over the boundary line. It'll be flicked, tossed back in right in front of the Pies bench. Mick Malthouse, your theory.
I reckon Collingwood would be thinking we're not going to let Stewart off the hook, but if he's in the middle, starts in the middle and drops back as a seventh, and another one from the half-forward line comes up into the middle. It's a pretty simple move, but what it does, then Collingwood then have to invent the play to play on him.
Geelong with the first goal to Jeremy Cameron. Boundary throw-in. Stanley wins it down for the Cats. Here's Smith. Half-back flank now for Geelong, retreating. Hand pass to Zach Guthrie. Long kick down the wing. Target is Neal. Punched away by Maynard, and it's out of play. So a throw-in in front of the interchange gates. That's Shannon Neal, who's the only change from the Geelong team that beat Port Adelaide. First game since round 19 last year.
Yeah,
so a long time out.
He's had some good form in the VFL. He just continued to work really hard. 203 centimetres, so great size.
Great size in the ruck. Darcy Cameron wins it down to Josh Dacos, off to Crisp, who goes by his left boot to centre half forward. Mychek couldn't take the mark. Well done by De Koning. Made it a 50-50 ball. Colin Jasny had it. He was tackled. Pies fans want holding the ball. Umpire says no. It'll be a ball up centre half forward here for the Pies.
One thing you get about Geelong is in the air and the back line, they will spoil anything and everything.
Stanley flicks it back into the corridor, but it's all Geelong. Crisp gathers, traps, gives it to Dacos. That's Josh Dacos. His kick is wide. It missed Elliott, and then it missed Howe, and it dribbled over the boundary line. So a boundary throw-in, just creeping closer to goal for the Pies.
I like the fact, Cal, they've stuck with Josh Dacos on that wing. A couple of times now, he's been the release, already up to 4 disposals. The perfect winger. He plays it so smart.
Stanley and Darcy Cameron. Cameron wins it down. Lipinski gets a hand pass out to Josh Dacos. Running towards the boundary line. 70 out. Kicks inside 50. Pack form. Spills out the back to Stewart of the Cats. And he swings it to the southern side. Hits up Tui. His premiership teammate Marks on the back flank.
That's a great kick. That is a great kick. Dissected 2 Collingwood players. You have to be knowing that's the only way out.
He's going to go back to the northern side. Long kick to De Koning. Half-back flank, short pass to Smith. 1-1 to 1 behind, early going. Jeremy Cameron with the only goal through 7.5 minutes. Smith closed down, spears the pass short to Bruin. Gives it back to Smith.
Smith can go to Holmes, who's just come on the bench off the bench for Dangerfield. He fumbles it. It was a tough one. Chris pounces. He's been exciting to start. A give and go with the goer. He gets it back and he kicks to Elliott, who's all by himself. 60 out. He runs to 49. He goes for home. The sharpshooter is offline. Jamie Elliott missing. No pressure coming from the Cats defenders, so he just ran direct at goal at the City end and missed it. It's Geelong by 5. 1-1-7. The Pies 2 behinds.
Just saw something there, Nick, I didn't love from Taylor Adams. Just really screaming at Jamie Elliott, arms out, remonstrating with him, but he was way out near the boundary.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah, like it was Jamie Elliott's goal to kick. And you back him in and you let him take the responsibility. Okay, he missed.
45 metres out, running directly in front.
No pressure.
That's right. Well, yeah. Now, I don't like that either, Lee, and that's unusual for Taylor Adams. Yep. He's such a team player.
The kick-in ends up out of play, so boundary throw-in half forward for the Pies. Going to the City end opening term. Darcy Cameron wins it down. Mitchell squeezes a kick forward. Juggled effort. Mychek paid. And Mychek will get the footy. Right half forward, the man on the mark will stand just a step inside the 50.
An interesting juggle. I think even Brody realised it might have hit the ground and then quickly just tried to sell it. But no, I've got a hold of it. It's
it's hit the ground, that's for sure.
This is a guy too he's been goalless 4 of his last 5 games, kicked just 1 goal since round 15. In the previous 5 weeks before that, he kicked 20 goals in 5 weeks, so
well, this distance is nothing for him.
He's had a lean 6 weeks. He moves in, he strikes his drop punt. It's across the goal face, punched away by De Koning. Still live footy, top of the goal square for the Pies. Howe collects, hands it to McCreary, off to Adams, can't get boot the ball. Bruin rushes it through, saves the day.
Wow, that got him through 4 hands.
Yep, that was a scramble all right in the goal square at the City end. And Adams got boot to ball.
Isaac Smith with the goal-saving tackle. He pretty much upended Adams. Great tackle.
Stewart's everywhere. Started in the centre and now he's on the kick-in duties. He's going around the southern side and Stanley thought he got the mark. Neil then claims it. He's going to get it. Plays on quickly before the umpire has time to think about it. Looking for but couldn't find Stengel. Noble's there. Beats Stengel to the ball. Back to Nathan Murphy. Now to Markov. And a beautiful low short ball hits Darcy Moore on the chest. The skipper's got it across half back.
He was ordinary last week.
Yep.
And at his high rate, he was ordinary. So he'll need to step up, and he's got the capabilities.
Defensive side of that wing, he goes to the attacking side, spoilt down Lipinski. Underground handball was good. Quick hands back to Lipinski. From 55 out, he just bombs it into that left forward pocket. Oh. Adams has kept it in play. Oh, another one goal-saving tackle by Sava and Radigalia. But this time, Adams makes sure of it. Radigalia with the tackle, ball spills clear, and Adams with the little toe poke sockers it through from 20 centimetres out.
I still don't know what's happened there. That ball has bounced on its end
come back
and come back. Somehow Taylor Adams, he left it for Mychek. Radagalia's effort was simply superb, but Adams still enough awareness to get his boot the ball. What a passage of play. And just quickly clarify one thing, that's not holding the ball against Brodie Mychek because there's no prior opportunity. The ball's jarred free in the tackle. and Mychek's trying to kick it. So well umpired.
So the Lipinski kick lands, it bounces on its end and bounces back in right on the edge of the goal square. Mychek thought he could stroll in. Ratugolea with a brilliant tackle, and then Adams was in the right place at the right time, was able to toe poke it through.
Collingwood by 2 points, lead swings on the first 2 goals as Darcy Cameron grabs it out of the right, kicks it forward. McCreery inadvertently knocks it in the other direction. Bruin can't quite grab the footy, does so eventually on his knees. Knocked out in the tackle, Crisp extracts it, got it to Markov. Free kick for a push. Advantage applied, Pies away. Middle of the G. Pendlebury hands it to DeGoey. They waved advantage and now they're calling it back.
Yeah, that's strange. Collingwood chose to take the advantage and they should have every right to do so.
Well, yeah, that kick by DeGoey's going to go into the front.
Yeah.
I don't know why they pull that back.
Markov looks for McStay. Takes the mark between wing and half forward. Kicked 2 goals in each of his 4 games since his return. McStay goes himself in the end. Kicks for Jeremy Howe. Got his mitts around it and marks in the forward pocket.
They're on song, the Pies. They're really playing some aggressive running football. This is back to 6 or 7 weeks ago now. And
that was smart footy. Sam De Koning had set himself as the central defender. It was Shannon Neal and Darcy Cameron wrestling a little bit and just allowed Howe to run at the ball, almost uncontested in the end. Really smart kick inside forward 50.
Jeremy Howe returned to the forward line. He moves in on the drop punt. Misses across the goal face. Still got his shooter's sleeve on, that protective bandage on his left arm, which he'll wear to the end of the season. Collingwood 1-4, Geelong 1-1. We're 13 minutes in on Grandstand AFL, so Collingwood by 3.
Tui in the defensive goal square. Goes for a little bit of a trot and then kicks almost down the corridor. Beats a heap of players. Markov's there to swoop. He's going to send it right back inside 50. Marking on the 50 is McCreery, uncontested. Spins and tries to spear it back in the corridor. No one can mark it. DeGoey pounces on it. A couple of cats pounce on him, including Bowes. The umpire hasn't blown his whistle. Now he has. So a ball up 45 out directly in front. Collingwood beautifully set up across the ground. They're winning the contested ball. Defenders are well set. Rowan beats Frampton in the ruck contest. And then there's a tackle on Bowes. Let's get down to Tim Hodges. Hodgie.
Kel, Darcy Cameron has had the doctor out to him. He's just struggling at the moment, so he's gone very deep forward, and Billy Frampton having his first run in the ruck.
Frampton straight down the throat of Adams. It was too hot for him. De Koning is able to swoop on it and bomb it long. It'll land just on the edge of the bullseye. Unable to juggle the mark was Henry. Now the soccer kick inside 50. Moore mops up. Beautiful take below his knees from Josh Dacos, and then zigs and zags and kicks to Frampton. He's all class. Slingy, put him on that All-Australian wing, will you please?
Oh, don't worry, that's done.
Done?
Whoops, I'm not supposed to give that all.
Errol Goulden on the other wing, please. Done? Oh, we nearly got him. Frampton's got the footy in his hands right in front of the interchange gates. He's looking out, who leaps sideways. Aerial leap is so spectacular, but could only get one hand to it, and it'll be a boundary throw-in.
The superb work of Josh Dacos. The kick's the highlight, of course, but the other part is him just being an outlet for Darcy Moore, who picked the ball up against 2 Cats forwards, had to slam it on his boot. If Josh Dacos is not there, Darcy Moore gets caught. Just brilliant wing play.
Frampton wins it down, but Atkins taken high in the tackle by Josh Dacos, so free kick for Atkins. Half back for the Cats. Just stabs it short to Holmes. From one back flank to the other. Long kick out to De Koning. Oh, he spills the mark. Pressure from McStay. McStay comes to try and tackle. De Koning got around him. Hand pass to Kolodjasny. Handball back to Guthrie. Pokes his pass to the outer edge of the centre square. And Bruin marks. They're queuing up in the corridor. Max Holmes receives the kick. Marks, plays on by hand to Atkins. Up over halfway. Short kick to Myers. Says it's okay. Calls Quaynor back. Kick to the goal square. There's 3 Cats. Stengel could just walk it in. Trickles it through for their second. And lead change number 3. Cats back on top. Geelong by 3 points. 2-1-13. Collingwood 1-4-10. Gee, it broke down for them defensively. 16 minutes into the opening term. Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse.
It's the only thing, Nick. If you can use the ball under high pressure really well against Collingwood, they are so aggressive defensively with the way they squeeze up, you can pinch 1 or 2 out the back against them.
Well, that's how they get scored on. They get scored on one of 2 ways, Lingy. You squeeze up like that because the ball's been lost in the middle, when they've had it.
Yep.
Second one is when the opposition have the football and bringing it forward, they tend to fall back for that big punch away of the mark because they've got players, and it leaves the 45 metre, not the 45 degree, 45 metre area open. So that's how Hawthorn got them last week. That's how Geelong got them that goal in.
Another score assist for Graham Myers. He's up to 38 for the season. The record is 44. What a kick it was. Back underway in the centre. Charging through was Bruin. Little scoop up to Dangerfield. Bombs it wide. Falls just inside 50. It bounces perfectly for Henry. And a quick hurried kick, and Close has taken the mark within range in a one-on-one contest with Noble. Noble was all at sea, and he's going to go back and back himself in here. Close, 45-degree angle.
Again, it was Myers with the little kick over the top. If he kicks this one, it'll be another goal assist. Just that quick kick. Great play by Ollie Henry, first of all, moving at the footy, but then Myers the one setting it up. Kick inside 50.
Clearance is 6-5.
He's been accurate this season, Brad Close. 20 goals, 5 for the season. Can he make it 21? You bet he can. And the Cats cheer squad behind the goals at the punt road end are up, and the flags are waving. It is a sizzler of a crowd in here tonight. Absolutely jam-packed right up to the back row on level 3. And the Cats are up by 9 points, 1-4-10. Collingwood trailing Geelong 3-1-19.
I was going to say before, when Quaino came over that mark, they've given up on that 50-metre penalty, haven't they? Like, the Geelong player mark, they've really come over 5 metres. Generally, that is just walk off, son. You've got 50 metres. But getting back to this, what haunted Collingwood last week was stoppages. Right now, Geelong, I don't think they're special at it, but they've been able to clear the ball a couple of times, and the resulting thing has been goals.
3-1. Geelong's way, 18 minutes in. Restart back in the middle. Stanley and Frampton go at it. Ball hits the deck. Stanley gets the first clean touch. Handball away to Atkins. Geelong back edge of the centre square. Kicks in Hope out the members' wing. McCreery running back after it. 2 in the other direction. Inadvertently soccers it out of play. And a boundary throw in. No late change coming in. Jack Ginnivan and Brandon Parfitt, the 2 subs. Couldn't buy a ticket in Melbourne to come tonight. All the general admissions sold out. What is a blockbuster start to round 22. 3 weeks left in the home and away season, and so many possibilities still in the race to make it to September. For the boundary throw-in, they all miss it. Dangerfield hand pass away to Duncan, kicks to Rowan. He marks it half forward. Close is on over the top, calls for it, receives it, takes the mark. A little closer to goal. He's 10 in from the boundary line. He'll kick from 35 out.
Just a couple of elements there. The movement of Dangerfield through the stoppage, excellent. And then the one thing Mitch Duncan still does have is he's a brilliant decision maker and a brilliant kick of the footy when he has time and space. Just to pull that kick across his body, caught Darcy Moore completely out.
Darcy Moore was running backwards.
Yeah.
That's what happened last week. You can't anticipate as a backline player. You stay on your man.
Close for 2 in a row and 3 quick ones for the Cats. He drags it to the left to behind. Geelong 3-2, Collingwood 1-4. It's the Cats by 10 points, a game high after 20 minutes. 21-6
now for the season for the South Australian. Brad Close. Pies don't waste any time. Quick kick into Noble. Goes down in front of the interchange gates. And it's spoiled down to Hoskin Elliott. Quick hands. Gets it off to Lipinski. Lipinski's kick goes. Should have gone straight down the throat of Sam de Koning. Didn't take the mark. Tries to trap it and get it to Atkins. Atkins is in a little jump ball type position with McStay. And the umpire says, give it to me. Get down to Tim Hodges. Hodgie briefly. It looks like Gary Rowan's come off getting a little bit of treatment down there.
Yeah, on his hip. And Jordan De Goey is furious. He's been left on the interchange gates trying to get someone to come off for over a minute. So he's getting really angry now.
You had Mark O'Connor for company straight out of the gates. Just the one touch for him so far. Hurried kick from the stoppage from the Pies forward to Howe. Hand pass away to Hoskin Elliott. 70 out. Kicks into the pocket. Myercheck marks 5 in from the boundary line, right forward pocket.
Yeah, superb kick.
Who had him at the time? Because whoever had him, I've got a feeling it might be O'Connor. It's O'Connor, isn't it?
I reckon O'Connor was covering for someone there, Mick, because that's definitely not the matchup. I wonder if De Koning just got caught up at the ball.
Whatever it was, they just allowed him to be able to come at the football.
He's had a dry spell in front of the sticks in recent weeks. He's involved early tonight. Myercheck makes his impact felt. And Geelong's lead cut to 4. The Cats 3-2-20. Collingwood moved to 2-4-16. 21 minutes in on Grandstand AFL. Mick Moldhouse, Cameron Ling.
In the end, it was a little easy, wasn't it?
Oh, too easy. DeConey's dropped 2 chest marks.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's technique, because he gets himself right in position. He takes them over his head, but he just looks like he dropped those ones. And then he puts pressure back on where the ball falls.
And you know, when I see that, where he was out in front and just needed to take it in the hand, but choose to take it on the chest, that says a little bit of a confidence thing, because he's got such beautiful hands.
I just look at midfielders here. There's hardly a midfield that's, I wouldn't say anyone's really dominating. Maybe Atkins is the one who's got the harder ball of all of them.
Yeah. We're just watching the replay of Gary Rowan, as Hodgie just spoke to us. He did pull up a little short just before he went to the bench.
High tempo arm wrestle unfolding at the MCG in the opening term. Dangerfield and Pendlebury in a wrestle for the Sharon. The umpire says we'll call it up. A secondary one on the edge of the centre circle. Geelong by 4 points.
Yeah, he did run off very gingerly.
Tossed up in the air, misses both ruck. Mitchell just tries to dab it to his own advantage. Elliott comes in and applies a tackle on Bowes, who's going nowhere. Tackles him to the turf. Stoppage to stoppage.
There's no spare plays behind the ball, which is very interesting. I see the Cats can't get one.
Stanley misses Dangerfield. Bowes picks it up, but Pendlebury rucks him up in a tackle, and again, another stoppage. Just a tough ball to be won at the moment. Got Atkins running with DeGoey, Pendlebury with Dangerfield. Charging through was Bowes. Hurried kick. Holmes tries to get there on the southern wing, and he turns crisp inside out. Oh, it's brilliant. And then he has a bounce and he delivers down the throat of Duncan. 2 goals, 2 long kicks out from goal. Duncan launches high to the top of the goal square, running and jumping, and a double grabber to Ollie Henry. He's been paid at the top of the goal square.
Well, it was a dead set mark. There's no question about the mark. Dacos really went the old, what would you say, service spoil, as opposed to the boxing spoil, where you just come over and destroy everything. So, no, it wasn't great.
Here we go. Now, the crowd's going to tell the story here, because the Pies fans will give it to the young Cat if he delivers a goal. And he does deliver a goal for the Hoops, and maybe it was the Cats fans cheering louder than the boos from the Pies fans. But the story is they extend their lead out to 10 points, Geelong, 4-2-26. Collingwood, 2-4-16, 6 shots apiece after the first, we gone, 24 minutes of play, Lingy.
It really came, Nick, from the Max Holmes effort out on the wing against Crisp, who's a superb runner himself, but he was just able to burn off Crisp and get out, use the ball well, and then again it was Mitch Duncan with some time and some space, using the ball forward well.
Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Corbin, good news for the Cats. Gary Rowan is back on. It's a left hip or a glute that he's sore. He's not running a million miles an hour, but he is back out there, back in the forward line.
Of course, I remember his mark and goal in that pulsating qualifying final last year at the City end, after being questioned about his finals performances to date. What a big-time moment that was against these Magpies. Back in the middle, he spits out to the wing and Crisp grabs it. He's tackled immediately.
Geelong have tried that a few times now. At least one midfielder on the bolt. And Dangerfield's been a couple of times. That time it was Tanner Bruin.
Cats by 10, up it goes again. Darcy Cameron wins it down. Dangerfield on his knees, ushers out a hand pass. Head over at Elliott. He's tackled. Got it out though to Pendlebury. Hand pass to DeGoey. Links up with Noble off the back of the square. Kicks Collingwood out to half forward. It's all Geelong. And Stewart takes an easy intercept mark at half back. Wants to switch. And does so out to the opposite back flank for Tanner Bruin. They'll try out the southern side. Kicks to Duncan. The 2-time premiership Cat from the defensive half all the way down to half forward. Cameron the target. Courageous mark off. Back into traffic. Spoils it away in a boundary throw-in. Half forward for Geelong.
He's improved a lot, Markov.
Oh, he has. And that's very legal. Look, he kept his eyes on the ball. Didn't crash into the player. Well done. Really good spoil. Hard to do those ones.
So flick back in on the outer side. Myers couldn't control it. Duncan does, off to Dangerfield. Right up against the boundary. Off a step, he just bombs it into that right forward pocket. Rowan got his hands to it. Stengel with a clever little kick to Tui, who backed into trouble. He backed into 2 Pies who got him either side, Elliott and Crisp. And it'll be a ball up top of the goal square here. for the Cats. And it's Neil who thumps it down. It comes the way of Cameron. Standing start, snap, and he buries it. Does he?
Going to check it.
They're going to check it. So while they're checking it, let's get down to Tim Hodges. There's a bit happening down there, Hodgie.
Yeah, it was. I was just spoke in your ear before, guys. It was a really weird time for Darcy Moore to be coming off the ground when the ball was in the Geelong forward line. Do you want to take that away, Kel?
The soft call was a behind, according to the replays we're getting. I think that's going to be a goal.
So that's his second, Hodgie. So a second goal for Jeremy Cameron. Snapped it from the top of the goal square. But the big story, of course, is Darcy Moore.
So Kel, he came off the ground. It was an odd time, so clearly something wasn't right. He shook his head to the physio. The physio just grabbed the doctor, and all three have gone down to the rooms. So something's happened to the Collingwood captain that he's not at all happy with, and they've gone to the room. So this is not good news for the Pies.
If you said a week ago, which two players do we not want to lose, I'm sure Craig McRae would have said probably Nick Dacos and Darcy Moore.
And my captain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lead out to 16 points now. We've only got, 4 minutes to play this opening term. Cats have got that lead, Mick, 5-2-32, Collingwood 2-4-16.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've been trying to watch the game. I didn't see anything that caused an injury. So perhaps, I don't know if it was a thumb, finger, or...
No, as soon as we see a replay, we will let you know, but none yet.
Back in the middle, all of a sudden, Geelong pulling away on the scoreboard, a 16-point lead. Darcy Cameron wins it down. Geelong through Stanley, hand pass to Duncan, squeezes a kick forward of Markov with the intercept mark. I would have said 5 minutes ago, it felt like the Pies were on top in general play, and yet it's been Geelong who have been leading this opening term throughout, and now a handy buffer by 16. The kick from Markov out wide, and Hill the target, punched out of bounds. O'Connor does well on the throw-in on that southern wing. It's 5-2. McRae coaching from the interchange. 16-point lead for Geelong. And just repeating the big news, Darcy Moore coming from the ground at the most inopportune time to try and make an interchange. Had to basically leave the play, run off the ground, and now down in the rooms. The Collingwood captain in the opening quarter.
There's only two things that are really different. One's the stoppages 12-7 and contested ball 27-22, both in Geelong's favour. If you win both of those, you're generally controlling a tough game.
Repeat stoppages on the southern wing. Darcy Cameron grabs it out of the ruck. Hand pass back into the corridor to Crisp. Under pressure, hand pass, turns it over. Stengel gives it away to O'Connor off the back flank. Kicks to centre half forward. Rowan the target. Murphy spoils loose footy. Myers onto it. Centre half forward for the Cats. Kicks to Cameron. It's over his head and Maynard. Bouncing footy. Henry collects in the forward pocket. Hand pass back to Cameron. Cameron for his third. It's there. The reigning premiers with the hot start at the G. Cameron with 3 in the opening quarter. And Geelong have put 6 past the Pies. Their captain's injured. Oh, it's all happening at the MCG, as Bill Laurie would say. Half hour in, 6-2-38 Geelong. Collingwood 2-4-16. Cats by 22.
Pretty funny on the replay. Jeremy Cameron, because of the angle where he was knocked over after the kick, didn't see it go through. He looked up at the scoreboard while he was getting up and said to his teammate something like, did that really go through? Is that a goal? That was unbelievable, that goal from Jeremy Cameron.
Can I just say, Lee, the first goal, bad enough. Second goal, but Maynard's not the... he's done a hamstring. I reckon Darcy Moore's done a string.
So another soft tissue, The replay shows him clutching right up the top of his left leg.
Oh, that is huge.
Isn't it? Only played 1 full season in his career.
Can I just get back to Maynard? He's not the player to play on Cameron right now because he's giving him too much room and he's too agile. So they're going to have to... Even Murphy might have to go back and put Maynard over it. Murphy's at least got ground coverage.
Well, Frampton's gone to him now, Mick. I reckon they've made a bit of a... Well, I mean, Darcy Moore's the other one, obviously, but...
No, well, he's off. So
for
me, Murphy's the player, has to play on him.
So no Nick Dacos, out for the rest of the home and away season with a knee injury. And now Darcy Moore's limped off with a hamstring injury, and you'd think he'd probably miss the rest of the home and away season, the way he clutched at it and pulled up straight away.
And high too, Kel.
Yeah, high, yep.
They're not the best ones to have.
No, so the Cats have got it across centre half back, and the kick was wide. Dangerfield was in the marking contest, couldn't take it. Tui with the handball, out to Stengel, releases him, kicks around the corner, couldn't quite hit up Jeremy Cameron, who poked out in that pocket. It was out of bounds on the full. Let's get down to Tim Hodges. It's all happening down there, Hodgie.
Yeah, Kel, and Jack Ginnivan has been told they'll do the full warm-up at the quarter-time break, so I'd expect him probably the second term to be injected into this game if Darcy Moore, which clearly it looks like he's not right and won't be coming back.
Thanks, Hodgie. And a kick from Chris ends up out at half-back, and Tui trying to dump it inside 50 for the Cats, smothered out of play.
We just saw Jeremy Cameron again. He didn't end up with that ball from Stengel, but by himself inside forward 50.
15 metres clearly.
So just losing his opponent, that's what Darcy Moore missing.
Yeah, I don't know whether Darcy Moore's made for him, but Murphy is, because he's such a concentrator on his opponent.
Frampton's gone to Cameron from the boundary throw-in. Crisp, hand pass away to Dacos, gives it to Adams, away to Markov, so a stoppage win for the Pies. Across the back flank to Hill. Short kick in the corridor, finds De Goey, continues the ball movement out to half forward, and Hoskin Elliott marks. The ball finds energy down the G. Hoskin Elliott hits up Howe, takes the mark in the leading lane at left half forward. And Jeremy Howe will have a set shot, 35 out left half forward.
Yeah, you hope they don't have to use Howe back. He's not made for Cameron anyway, because he is a serious contender up here on this forward, and they kick a lot of goals, because at the moment they can't go with him. The marks he's taken now have been 10 yards in front of his opponent.
Kick 3 against Carlton a couple of weeks ago in a quarter. He started up front tonight. There is only 3 goals on the season. Jeremy Howe skips in. It's a must-have, and he's got it. And Collingwood start to climb back, giving away a significant head start. 33 minutes in. Geelong's lead cut to 16. The Cats 6-2-38. Collingwood 3-4-22. Cameron Ling, Mick Malthouse.
And that's the brave ball we're so used to seeing from Collingwood. Just taking it from one end of the ground to the other. Really good quality use, and even the ability to change the angles too, Mick. I think the Geelong defenders had actually got back there okay. There was enough there, but with the change of angle meant that Howe had that nice leading lane and took a pretty easy mark in the end. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they just want to keep Howe forward and leave him there because he's a threat at the moment, or if they send him back to play on someone and then roll Murphy over to Jeremy Cameron.
Yeah, well, I'd be really loath to move Howe now, because he's kicked 2 shots on goal, 1 goal, 1.
Cats by 16 points, bounced down in the second. Adams was met high by Dangerfield. Umpire doesn't blow his whistle. Bruin gets it out of there and kicks high to half forward. Taking off after it is Smith. Scoops the handball back to Myers. None of it is clean. It's all under pressure. Myers able to get it to Duncan. Give it back to Smith. Shanks the kick straight into Dangerfield, who was standing 2 metres away. He's got it. He breaks through 1 tackle, breaks through a second, skies it. Launching was Neil inside 50 here for the Cats. Myers goes in, but it's the Collingwood that emerges with the footy. Maynard. The tackle affects the kick. It's round the southern side. Stewart's able to get there. In fact, it was De Koning rather. Gives it back to a teammate in O'Connor, who bombs it inside 50. Again, Neil goes. And Geelong Cats, with all the confidence and all the running in this opening term, will take a 16-point lead into the first break. 6-2-38 to Collingwood 3-4-22. They came into this game, the Pies, without their wonder kid in Nick Dacos, without their superstar veteran in Still Sidebottom, and we'll go straight down to Tim Hodges, because Hodgie, the skipper, has just been subbed out.
Yeah, so Darcy Moore's just come back from the bench. He's grabbed Jack Ginnivan's jacket, which is way too small for him, and he's wandering out, and the substitution is being made as we speak. So Jack Ginnivan has just put the number 33 jumper on, and he's got two guys who are going to take him. He gives a hug to Darcy Moore as they actually walk out to the quarter-time huddle. So Ginnivan won't be a part of this quarter-time huddle. He'll go straight and do a full warm-up. So he's ready to go in the second term. But number 33, Jack Ginnivan, comes into this game. If ever the Pies need a fire starter, it's Jack Ginnivan. So he finally gets his chance and will be in for the start of the second term. But this is a massive story and a massive blow for the Pies. A week after Nick Dacos is wiped out for the home and away season now, so too is the skipper, Darcy Moore.
Looking more like the 21 version of Jack Ginnivan too. He's got the long brown hair with the long sleeves on, and he's not really a like for like, I think it's fair to say, with Darcy Moore going out of the game, suspected hamstring injury. Jack Ginnivan to start the second term. There's a whole lot to pick apart in all of that. The thoughts of Mick Malthouse and Cameron Ling in just a moment. Jeremy Cameron's kicked 3, 1 for Stengel, Henry and Close. Meanwhile, for Collingwood, Adams, Howe and Myercheck have their 3 goals. It's the Cats by 16 points at quarter time. The thoughts of our experts next on Grandstand AFL.
What's the best thing in the world that's also on the ABC Listen app? The footy! This season, get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
She's got it! Bye-bye! See you later!
Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports' expert commentary team. AFL and NRL, live and ad-free. Get it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Pokes the yellow Sharon into the pocket. Couple queuing up. Hands on it from Cameron. No mark. Close. Gives it back to him. Jazz has kicked the first of the night. Cameron with the opener. And the Cats have got the first goal inside 2 minutes.
From 55 out, he just bombs it into that left forward pocket. Adams has kept it in play. Oh, another goal-saving tackle by Ratugolea. But this time, Adams makes sure of it. Ratugolea with the tackle. Ball spills clear. And Adams with the little toe poke sockers it through from 20 centimetres out.
Up over halfway. Short kick to Myers. Up says it's okay. Calls Quaynor back. Kick to the goal square. There's 3 Cats. Stengel could just walk it in. Trickles it through for their second. And lead change number 3. Cats back on top.
So something's happened to the Collingwood captain that he's not at all happy with, and they've gone to the room, so this is not good news for the Pies.
Kicks to Cameron, it's over his head and Maynard. Bouncing footy, Henry collects in the forward pocket. Hand pass back to Cameron. Cameron for his third. It's there. The reigning premiers with the hot start at the G. Cameron with 3 in the opening quarter.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
And the biggest story of the night so far has been the hamstring injury to Darcy Cameron. He's been subbed out, to Darcy Moore. He's been subbed out in that opening quarter. Darcy Cameron's still there. The concern is around their captain, Darcy Moore, with a suspected hamstring injury. It's the Cats by 16 points at quarter time. Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse.
That is a huge story with the health of Darcy Moore. But into the game, Mick, for a brief period in that first quarter, it felt like Collingwood had the game on their terms. They were looking dangerous, getting some good entries, and then Geelong got rolling with their clearances and contested ball. You spoke about it a couple of times through that first quarter. I reckon, let's call it 8 minutes into the first quarter, Collingwood were up by 4 in contested possessions. That flipped around completely. Geelong ended up +8, so probably from that time onwards, +12, completely took over the contest and therefore were able to generate those great scoring opportunities.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's been interesting. I guess I've watched Collingwood now a few weeks in a row. Well, not necessarily in a row, but I've watched, either been here or watched their games, and have watched Geelong. The contested football wasn't going to be the forte of Geelong. I thought they had to get outside and start to work the ball into a forward line that was quite capable. If you look at Rowan, who's now... I noticed Rowan's hobbling again. I don't know how he goes with injuries, but he's hobbling, and so lots been left up to Cameron. So Collingwood have got to put work in there, but I thought that Collingwood would win clearly the contested football. If Geelong win the contested football, Collingwood won't win, because they are a hunter, and when they hunt, they get the ball out, and then they get their runners going, then they get their game going. I'm not saying Collingwood can't win it, but it's going to make it very, very difficult if you lose the stoppages and you lose your contested football.
Well, it makes it more important now with Darcy Moore
it does.
getting injured.
Tim Hodges is on the boundary. Hodgie.
We thank the Magpie Media Department for letting us know. So they're saying that Darcy Moore is out of the game with hamstring tightness. So I'm not sure if that changes anything, but they're confident it's not a full hamstring. Look, they're a reality show, the Magpies. Mick will tell you that. It was fascinating watching Craig McRae at quarter time. He worked the whiteboard here on the bench. Then he took a moment just to compose himself. He looked up at the roof of the bench just to sort of suck in a few deep breaths to think, What am I going to say? I mean, Mick, have you had moments where you've got to go out and try and sell positive stories when you've had a week of people saying, you can't win without Nick Dacos, and now the captain's out and you have to go and sell the positive message at quarter time when your team's down on the scoreboard?
Well, what he will be doing is looking at his next leaders. He is very fortunate he's got Scott Pendlebury still on the ground, and if you look around, there's a like Taylor Adams. You don't have to go much further than having a look at players on either line. They are star-studded with leaders. They're very, very fortunate. They don't have to. It's not something he has to sell, because each of these players, even right in front of you, Timmy Dacos, he's a leader in his own mind. So I don't think that's going to be the problem. The problem is getting their hands in the football.
Darcy Moore, one of 7 Magpies to have played every game this year, a suspected hamstring in the opening quarter. As Tim said, hamstring tightness, the official word from the Pies. Second term underway, Geelong by 16. Atkins with his hands on the footy first, kicks Geelong to half forward, and Markov leaps up, takes the intercept mark. Jeremy Howe up front tonight for Collingwood. Dropped the footy, trying to get it off quick, and in the end goes short to Crisp. Long ball out wide, finds Dacos, rides a bump from Bowes. Hand pass ends up out of play, trying to link up with Elliott. And a boundary throw in, 70 out from the Collingwood goal. They're kicking to the punt road end in the second term.
As Mick asked for in the first quarter, Murphy's gone to Jeremy Cameron. Much better matchup for the Pies.
Yeah, and you've got Frampton over onto the new player.
Flick back in here, half forward for Collingwood, and Dacos was taken high by Holmes, and he'll win the free kick. So he's got it right in front of us on the centre wing, northern side. They're kicking to the punt road end. He pokes that into the air for Darcy Cameron. Stuart mauled him from behind, and then it spills down to Lipinski, who goes for home. The snap's off line, and it's punched over down there by Mitch Duncan. He's going to do the kick-in duties as well and play on quickly if he can. Cats by 16 points. He's got it in the defensive goal square. So the official word from the Pies, Tim, say hamstring
tightness.
Okay.
Yep.
The replay Magpies fan said the string went ping the way he grabbed at it.
Duncan out of the goal square, kicks to half back, but turns it over. Hoskin Elliott with the intercept mark, 70 out half forward. Geelong led it by as many as 22 in the opening term. Cameron with 3 goals in the game already goes short to Quaynor. It's picked off. Broken up by Ratugolea. Tui wins the footy, hands it back to Ratugolea. His kick at turnover.
They look for the switch here, Collingwood. They've got a good overload on this side of the ground if they can get it there quick.
Crisp to Frampton in the middle, and he's going to put the ball inside 50. Kicks to centre half forward. Good body use, McStay. It's all legal. And a mark for Dan McStay, left half forward. Got rid of the key defenders into Koning and Stewart. And McStay will shoot from 40 out.
Well constructed by the Pies there. They had the awareness. They had players even wider here for a big switch. But it was the right decision to actually go forward with it, because their forwards had worked into a little group, had the Geelong defenders caught out. The kick was spot on, allowed McStay to use his body.
For back-to-back goals for the first time tonight, either side of the break. McStay, his left-footed drop punt. McStay's left, and they're behind. 2.5 minutes into the second term, so it's Geelong who lead it by 14 points, 3-6 to 6-2.
Looks like Parfitt's coming on too, I'm suggesting. And I reckon they'd be rolling up.
Tui goes straight down the corridor. Wonderful kit. Hits up Jeremy Cameron at centre half back, who's got 3 goals to his name. Wheels out wide, looking for Hasaba Ratugolea. Bounced off his chest. Quaynor bounced onto it, and then he penetrating kick over the head of Myercheck into the pocket. Foot race is on. De Koning gets there first. Handballs to Stewart. Squeezes the kick. It's a good kick. Cool head is Tom Stewart, the All-Australian and Premiership player, and he's able to hit up Mark O'Connor.
Well, there's a real problem there with Ollie Henry. He ran away from his teammate, left him one-on-one. If he had that ball should have been resurrected before.
Well, Ollie Henry was in that marking contest. He was the leaper in the pack. He couldn't take it, and now the Pies streaming forward. De Goey, centering kick to the top of the goal square, where Darcy had it, then lost it. Darcy Cameron, rather. Scramble. Cats. Tui. Handballs back to De Koning in the defensive goal square to O'Connor. And they haven't quite got out of jail yet, as De Goey desperately diving to his right, taking a mark just inside the boundary and within range, but he'll have to thread it from the tightest angle.
Bo McCreary caused that. He was after those Geelong defenders. Great pressure.
Yeah. Well, Geelong had a chance on 3 occasions to kick the football and length of the hand pass. When you hand pass, you get a 3 or 4 metre distance.
This would need to take 10 out of 10 from Jordan De Goey. He's capable, doesn't get the distance, instead it lands in the goal square. Josh Dacos handballed to no one in the end. Bowes gets it out of the dangerous territory. The exiting kick falls away of Markov. Gives the handball off to Chris. Chris centering kick to Goey flies. Well done by O'Connor coming the other way. Sweeping handball by Josh Dacos. Off to Maynard. Standing start directly in front. Kicks it left and misses.
Well, they're dominating the ball.
Mick De Goey's a little ginger as he gets up. They are dominating the ball, but it's the Cats by 13 points. And the sub's been activated for the Cats, Tim Hodges.
Yeah, so Gary Rowan has gone down to the rooms. I think it's a glute that's just not right. So Brandon Parfitt has been subbed in. The paperwork has just gone through. So Parfitt just waiting to come on the ground now.
To Goey too, after that last incident, just holding high on his right backside. He appears to be okay, but I want you to keep an eye on him too, Hodgie. Strolling through the middle of the G at the moment. The Cats work it up the wing as Henry kicks down towards Cameron. Off hands it spills to Maynard. Hand pass to Lipinski. Henry goes over the top trying to spoil. Didn't get much purchase on it. Atkins, hand pass to Close. He's ripped into the ground.
What you have there, Corbs, is an example of a player who's never really spoiled much in his life, Ollie Henry.
How about that for a reaction? That is the cheer for Jack Ginnivan, who's come on for his first minute since round 12. The fan favourite in the long sleeves out there as the tactical sub from the restart. Close is locked up. In fact, it was Atkins tackled by Pendlebury, and says that's holding the ball, so Pendlebury will get it half back for Collingwood.
So much drama and theatre in this contest, and we're only in the early stages of the second term. Geelong by 13 points. De Goey's in the hand of the Doctors. We'll get down there very shortly. Josh Dacos has got the footy. He kicks it to half forward for the Pies. Handball by Mitchell. Over to Ginnivan. Here he is. Can he set up a goal? He centres the kick over the head of Hill. Charging through is Radicalea. McCreary wraps him up. Spills the way of Maynard. His handball missed the target. Dangerfield just bangs it long and it lands in the chest of Smith. Isaac Smith's just going to kick it. It bounces. It settles for Neil. And he can team up with Ollie Henry. Handballs into Cameron. He's got 4. End-to-end stuff by the Cats. Geelong all over the premiership favourites. They've lost Darcy Moore to a hamstring. They've got Jordan De Goey on the bench in pain. And the Cats are back out by 19 points. 7-2-44. Collingwood 3-7-25. Tim Hodges with the latest on Jordan De Goey.
Kel, this is almost identical to how the treatment that Gary Rowan was receiving for the glute right in the backside. So that's where he got hit, as Corbin called. So he's in a lot of pain. It's the right side. It's his kicking side. He spent about a minute with the physio, and now he's just walked away from them. He's sitting down at the moment. You can see the pain on his face. So he's not right. He's not anywhere near 100%, but they've made the sub already, and they need him for the rest of this game.
I think, Corbs, you reeled off Nick Dacos and Darcy Moore as the first two on the list they didn't want to lose. Jordan De Goey's number 3.
Yep. This has been a season-defining 50 minutes of footy, and obviously all these things will be told in hindsight, but what a horror show so far for Collingwood. And in the context of the game, they're 19 points down, 7 goals to 3. They're on a 2-game losing skid. They need just one win to lock up the minor premiership, and yet they're losing troops all over the place. Darcy Cameron grabs it out of the ruck, squeezes a kick forward for Collingwood. Hand pass to Holmes, he went without it. Spills to Parfitt on the deck. Hand pass back to Holmes. Tackled, coughs it up. Ginnivan got a handball out. There's a free kick going Collingwood's way, and the tackler Lipinski's going to be rewarded. It's Holmes who got the handball out. The ump said there wasn't enough of a correct hand pass and disposal. And Lipinski can put Collingwood inside 50 to the top of the goal square. They all miss it. Spills through to Radicalea. Gang tackle, taken to ground. And a ball up, 20 out from the Magpies goal at the punt road end.
There's mistakes made by both teams at both ends of the ground. Lack of numbers. Geelong got their goals because of the more numbers in Collingwood's defence.
Here's Ginnivan. Zigs one way, zags the other on the blue boots. The sub misses. Oh, that would have been a moment for Pies fans. The number 33 back out there in the long sleeve. As we get back down on the bench, Tim Hodges.
We thank the Cats for letting us know. So Gary Rowan officially out of this game with a hip and adductor issue. So that's why he's out of this game, and he had the experience, and they worked overtime to get him right, but they just couldn't, and he's down in the rooms.
He just didn't look right, Tim, when he did the injury in the first place, and he's a power athlete, so he needs that running capability.
Smith on the back flank, kicks down the wing but turns it over. Maynard traps it in the front half for Collingwood. Short kick to Hoskin Elliott between wing and half forward. So the Pies 4 shots, 4 behinds this quarter. Geelong, meanwhile, they've been inside 50 once and they've kicked 1 goal. Collingwood's 4 behinds from 7 entries. They go inside an 8th time here to McStay, punched away by De Koning. Still alive footy. Lipinski knocks it back forward for Collingwood. Guthrie picks it up, tackled by McCreary, squeezes a kick out. Lipinski wins it back. Hand pass to Maynard, kicks to the top of the goal square. Good spoil from Stanley. Down to Ginnivan. He's met hard in the tackle from Parfitt. Got a hand pass away. Links up with Myercheck, but he's tackled.
Ginnivan's getting in some good spots though.
Yeah, and it was the Ginnivan move. I was a little bit lingy, I think.
Yeah,
when
he did.
Parfitt came in.
Yeah, he threw his head back. Parfitt's a very good tackling player.
Here's a chance. Pendlebury gets it from the stoppage, and Pendlebury straightens them up. After 4 consecutive behinds, it's the veteran with the class. And they close to within 12 points, these Magpies. 4-8-32. Geelong 7-2-44 after 10 minutes in the second term.
Well, it's just it really is finals football.
It is.
This is real tough football. I'll go back to that goal that Geelong did kick. The ball was in Collingwood's forward line. They outnumbered Geelong 5-3. Somehow or another, the ball pinballed around until Geelong got the clearance. It went up the back end. Geelong had the 5, Collingwood had 3, so they're always going to score. So how these numbers are working out, someone's getting very aggressive in their run, or they're not really playing their role.
Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Jordan De Goey just got up to come on the ground. He went to touch his toes. He looked like you or me, Corbin, trying to touch it. He couldn't get past his knee. He then just sat down and thought, oh, I'm in a world of hurt here. So he is feeling an enormous pain.
Cats straight out of the middle. Stanley down to Dangerfield. Kicks for Stengel in the pocket. No mark. Spills to Noble of the Magpies. Hand pass to Quaynor. Handball away to Crisp. Took on Bruin. Handball to Quaynor. Crowd trying to get behind the Pies. Gives it to Adams, to Mitchell, all by hand. Quaynor over halfway. Pendlebury fumbles. Picked off. Woes for Geelong. Can kick into space out on the southern wing. Close goes up. Trying to take the juggled mark. Unsuccessful. Hits the deck. Mark's going to be paid. It's coming back to Close. There is not a person in this stadium not enthralled and absolutely engaged in this game. 7 goals to 4. Geelong by 12 points. Injuries everywhere. Close with a long kick into the forward pocket. Darcy Cameron across the front of the pack. No mark. Dangerfield breaks it up. Loose footy forward pocket. Dangerfield tackled without it. Free kick. I think it's going Geelong's way.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. He threw his body back. He made sure the umpire saw it, but not much in that.
Oh, wow. He had the ball.
Here's the replay and the reaction from the Collingwood Army.
Yeah, well, it's a reaction, though. Deservedly reaction.
He lays it off by hand to Stengel. Snaps across the body. The kick misses near side. And there's the Bronx cheer as well. Now Jordan De Goey just steps on the ground trying to run through the pain as he hobbles his way on. It's Geelong by 13 points, 13 gone in the second.
From the last line, they try to clear it. Up to Noble, goes wide to Lipinski. He's got it at half back, short to Crisp. Unchecked to De Goey, who's just hobbled on, and he's marking in front of the Pies bench. Short, he goes to Hill, who's got it right in front of the interchange gates.
Yeah, they've managed to work this well. No risk, just all the way down the boundary. Kick mark.
Kick mark to Howe. Barely went 10 metres, let alone 15, but it was paid. Jeremy Howe, a long way out, just goes over the 50, over the arc. Target was Darcy Cameron. At ground level, Atkins got it up to Stewart. Stewart kicks around his body to the wing. Henry, once, twice, does well. Flicks it to Bowes, who can flick it to Close, who can flick it to Dangerfield, who's met it in Magpie sandwich. Somehow he gets the ball, the handball over the top. Stolen by Lipinski. Lipinski gives it up. Lipinski applies a tackle. This is as hard as you love it. Finals-like football atmosphere at the MCG right now. Extraordinary drama. Cats by 13 points. 13-minute mark of this second term.
Darcy Moore's done his hammy in the opening quarter. A glute or hip adductor injury for Gary Rowan, subbed out for Geelong, and well, looks to be at the very least a severe corky. High work done on the right buttocks of Jordan De Goey, who's back out there. Restart on the wing. That Dangerfield wins it, bursts away from traffic. Hand pass to Duncan, kicks into the pocket. Cameron, juggled mark, not quite. In the scrap with Frampton. Noble keeps it alive for Collingwood. Hand pass out to Crisp off the back flank. The lefty sends it down the members' wing, but turns it over. And Stewart takes the intercept mark. Geelong by 13 points, 15 gone, second term.
Stewart tries to take the sting out of it for a moment and kicks backwards.
It's a dangerous thing to go backwards against Collingwood because they squeeze up so well. So giving up that ground.
And now O'Connor from centre half back. A floater, a shocker, but launching in from the side. That's a great mark by the veteran Mitch Duncan. Handballs off to the run of Atkins. Chips the kick to Bowes.
Oh.
Marks paid. Went, what did it go, Mick?
5, 7.
5, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I was going to say 5.5. One said 5, one said 5.5, one said 7. So there you go. Bowes.
And that's my Geelong bias, giving it an extra metre and a half, Cal.
Back into Duncan. Duncan tries to spear the kick. Oh, luck's a fortune. Atkins takes it. It was a wobbler off his boot, and Atkins has taken it right on 50. Probably hasn't got the distance in his legs. Spears it over the top. Needed to be precise for Jeremy Cameron. Missed him. Stengel's got it. Handball over to Guthrie. Standing start. Buries it from the top of the goal square. The defender in Guthrie. Zach floated down top of the goal square. Gets his first for the night. Geelong back out by 19 points. 8-3-51. Collingwood 4-8-32.
Well, again, Mick, Geelong just making the most of their inside 50. So they've only been inside 50 five times this quarter for 2 goals won. Collingwood have been inside 50 9 times for the 1 goal for. Collingwood have been on top this whole quarter, but it's 2 goals to 1 Geelong's way.
But even the contested football is still married off. So Geelong haven't allowed Collingwood to belt them up. And the stoppages is 3 to 5. Okay, so if you looked at a net result, there's a 3+ for Collingwood, but not the 7 or 8 that Geelong dominated that first quarter. So they've been able to hold their own.
Tim Hodges on the boundary.
Gary Rowan, first sighting back from the rooms. He's had the shower, got the trackie on. And just an interesting one on Darcy Moore. Still no ice supplied to that hamstring. 16 minutes into this second term, sitting on the bench.
Good observation. Thanks, Hodgie. Back in the middle. McStay wins it after competing in the ruck. Gives it to Adams. Squeezes the kick forward. Fortunate bounce for the Pies. Lipinski. Hand pass to Hill. Links up with Elliott. Back to Hill. Looks for Myercheck. No mark. Spoilt down. Hits the deck. Pitballs around to O'Connor of the Cats. He wins it. Hand pass to Atkins to De Koning. Gives it to Bowes. And now to Kolajasny. Short kick to Myers. Half volley pick up. He's under the pump. Tackled by Markov. And after all that, a ball up. 5 in from the boundary line between wing and half forward for Collingwood. Geelong by 19 points. 17 gone second quarter.
Stanley wins it in the air to the advantage of Parfitt. Shoved it, he got the kick away, so it went straight down to De Goey. Standing start, he just throws it inside 50. Here's Bobby Hill, outside of his boot. Something special. It ricochets to Ginnivan, gives it off to Myercheck, who's going to dribble it through. Oh, that's the play of the night from the Pies. Bobby Hill to Ginnivan, and Myercheck with the perfect bounce. He's got his second, Brody. And they close to within 13 points. Geelong 8-3-51, Collingwood 5-8-38. Finally, something went the Pies' way, and that was the bounce from the dribbler of the kick off the boot of Myercheck.
4 touches for Jack Ginnivan since he's come on. It feels like every one of them have been dangerous, Mick.
Yeah, well, he's a dangerous player.
Oh, what a spark.
Yeah, he draws the crowd in. He draws opponents at him. So it opens up. So if he's near the football, he's like a magnet. And if he gets it, you can bet that someone else is led off and leaves an opponent free. In this case, Myercheck had, I mean, we might say it's a fluke goal. No, it's not. It's you shape the ball that way, but he was clear. So he was able to drag his opponent away. I'm not too sure the right opponents on him, quite frankly, Ginnivan.
What a dramatic night already as Stanley wins it down. Parfitt squeezes the kick forward and Myers marks. Centre half forward for the Cats. Still 60 out. Pokes it inside the attacking 50. Cameron on the half volley, can't trap it. Spills to Pendlebury of the Pies. Hand pass to Lipinski. Gives it to Noble, who's off and running. takes a bounce, defensive side of the wing, heads to half forward. Howe and Radicalier both have a piece of it, no mark for either. Pack forms at their feet. Umpire says holding the ball against Radicalier.
Yep, that's there. He was on his knees, dived on the ball, didn't get it out. That's going to be paid every time.
Good contest, that.
13-point lead for Geelong, 19 gone in the second. Howe pokes the pass short to Adams and short kick to Lipinski. Still 60 out, left half forward. Crowded, congested forward 50 for the Magpies. Myercheck in the pocket, the target. The kick is superb. Like a heat-guided missile onto the chest of Brodie Myercheck.
And knew exactly what he was doing then, Lipinski. Ran out into the middle. Everybody thought it was going long. He knew he wanted to pull that kick at the last second. Superb use of the footy.
And also knowing, Myercheck knowing what he was doing.
Myercheck for his third. He's having quite a night. He's kicking them from everywhere. Bends it through from the left forward pocket. Geelong's lead cut to 7. Collingwood doing it without their skipper. And a banged-up Jordan De Goey, 21 minutes into the second term. The Cats by 7, 8-3-51. Collingwood moved to 6-8-44. Cameron Lang, Mick Malthouse.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's the Collingwood we've seen, is that run out of the back line creates all sorts of doubt. And once they get that first hand pass or first short kick in that back line and they're able to run it, have a look at the opportunity. They've got 3s and 4s. They can go left or right with their hands or short passing. That ball found itself right in front of us on this wing. The next one is to a player who was able to use it to Myercheck. There's no accident. Geelong need to engage in the forward line. If they don't do that, then Collingwood will continue to run that ball out. They're a running side, and when they run the ball, they score.
Centre bounce, 6 minutes still to play in this second term. It comes to the northern side. Radicalier beats Adams to the ball. Does well, gathers, handballs over the top to Dangerfield, who handballs to Bruin. Can't keep it in play.
That was pretty impressive from Asava Radicalier down in front of us. On Taylor Adams, I thought for a second, ground ball. That's Collingwood's footy. Great play, but just a little missed handball there from Dangerfield. That's the pressure of Collingwood. It's building and building.
Half forward here for the Cats. Over the top was Stanley, winning it easily in the air. But now the scrap at ground level. Spills up to Jamie Elliott. Kicks around the corner, straight down the throat of Radicalier. Gets the kick away before Myercheck's able to tackle him. Straight through the hands of Murphy. Now the ball hits the deck. Close is doing some close checking on Markov. Fumble City. Pressure. Maynard. Noble. Tackled by Ollie Henry.
Look at the body. He's going in.
Incredible tempo.
I'll repeat again. This is real. This is why both these sides should be the finals. They play finals type football.
Pendlebury alongside Dangerfield at this ball up. Hurried kick goes into the pocket. Henry was there. Great spoil from Nathan Murphy, who was meant to miss a month with a serious ankle injury, and he's out there saving marks in the pocket, fighting his absolute heart out. It is the Cats by 7 points. We've got 5 minutes before half time.
7-point lead for the Cats. They led by as many as 22 from the boundary throw-in. Darcy Cameron wins the hit-out, spills to Dangerfield. Kicks across the half-forward line, and Bobby Hill's back in defence. Wins a one-on-one with Holmes. Lays a hand pass off to Dacos. Off the back flank. Kicks to the wing. Hands to it, and a mark for McStay. Good contested grab. Moves it on quickly, turns it over. Bowes leaves his man, takes the intercept mark. Back down to half forward for the Cats. Henry the target, Murphy spoils. Dacos at the drop. Handball away to Quaynor. Back to Dacos against the boundary line. Feeds a hand pass forward. Still in play. Markov inadvertently soccers it away to Quaynor. Back to Dacos. Another touch in the chain. Hand pass to Markov again. Gives it to Mitchell. Hand pass back and forth to Dacos. Cats work it through traffic. Pendlebury. Hand pass to De Goey. Lifts it over to Bobby Hill. Short kick inside the forward arc. Elliott receives. Closes. Goals.
Brilliant.
What a passage from the Magpies. From half back, they never let the play die. It results in a major, and Collingwood draw within a point. The Cats 8-3-51. Collingwood 7-8-50. by hook or by crook, they're staying alive in this game. 24 gone, second term.
Oh, superb football.
Was it? That was unbelievable football.
And again, it's an example
One
of
touch.
If Geelong are going to miss a kick because of the pressure and Collingwood are going to get it back, they are going through them like lightning. And you're right, it is one touch. You cannot fumble in this game of footy tonight.
No. Well, that ball on that half-forward flank, Geelong's half-forward flank, I reckon went through probably 7 or 8 players' hands. But the 8th one or the 7th one was Collingwood. And once they break from that, then they just have these mass run and numbers, and then they back themselves.
Cats clinging on by 1 point. They're led by as much as 22. Stanley straight down to Atkins, who gets it to Duncan, to Dangerfield. Breaks the tackle of Noble, coming hard. Myers flicks it out to Holmes. Kick was smothered by Murphy. Goodness me, he's a good player. Murphy goes in hard again. Causes the turnover. Pendlebury, hands. Quick hands. Out to Josh Dacos. Kicks down the line. Elliott in front. Strong in the air.
How's the kick? How's the mark?
They have been challenged, the premiership favourites, without their injured captain out there, and they are rising to the challenge. It's beautiful to watch. Elliott, short kick to Pendlebury, out wide to Josh Dacos, all by foot, and he gets it to Adams.
Yeah, it was whether Geelong could stay with them on the leg power. I'm not sure they can, the Cats.
Adams got it right in front of the Shane Warne stand, and he spears it inside 50. Into the pocket he goes. Target was Darcy Cameron. Ginnivan makes sure that it goes over the boundary line. Ginnivan started as a sub, and he was in for Darcy Moore at the end of that first term, who pulled up lame with a left hamstring injury. 3.5 minutes to play before half-time. Feels like we've been going for a full game already. Cats lead it by 1 point. Spinning ball back in play. De Goey gets there at ground level to Josh Dacos, who's running backwards, buying himself some time. Kicks into the pocket, spoil from Radicalea, lands in the lap of Mychek, who bananas it. Through for a behind.
Oh, that's not.
He was in 2 minds there.
On the full, apologies.
Yeah, he had 2 targets too. Just rushed it.
They botched that one.
Yeah, they certainly did.
So Cats hold on to that 1 point lead with 3 minutes 14 left before half time.
Stewart to Guthrie, long kick to half back. Tui moved out of the way. Maynard the intercept mark.
He's a big boy, mate. I love the size of him. He's just that strong. He just moved Tui just straight off the ball.
8 shots to 3 in the quarter, plus that one out on the full, so really 9 to 3. The scoring opportunities, long kick to the hot spot, spoiled away by Stanley. Down to the lap of Elliott, though, to Hoskin Elliott. Hand pass out to McCreary, that's inventive. Did a hand pass between his legs, sort of held the footy, whacked it with his fist, and in the end it was inadvertently knocked out of play anyway by Tom Stewart, so we'll have a Tom Mitchell will have a boundary throw in half forward.
That's their mindset, though, isn't it, Corps? Just keep the ball alive. Through the legs, however it is, just keep it alive. Keep in the game. Something might happen.
Flicked in right on 50 here for the Pies. Ginnivan spins out of trouble. Launches a long kick. Spoil from Sam de Koning. Loose ball, top of the goal square. Jamie's there. Right on the last line of defence. Guthrie gets it. And then he was slammed into the point post afterwards by Mychek. Is it coming back? It is coming back.
It's going to be classed as down the field.
Yeah, so it'll be a free kick to de Koning. Guthrie just slammed, pushed into the point post, cluttered into it. And down free kick to de Koning, who's still in the back pocket at the punt road end. Stanley was the target. There's a push. It'll be a free kick to Geelong going to Reese.
How's the difference in the ball movement, though? Geelong are all just long to big packs. Collingwood, on the other hand, they are flying back the other way when they win the footy.
Well, just run it, dude.
Yeah.
Just run the legs off the Cats.
Shorty goes to Jeremy Cameron, who's kicked 4 majors in this opening half, but he's got it across half back. Off a step, as casual as you like. Looking for Dangerfield. Ollie Henry in front, can't quite get there. Good pressure applied by Frampton. Hands on the bottom of the pack to Maynard, to Pendlebury. Here they go again, running at wheel to Adams. Also involved is De Goey. Ginnivan, back to De Goey. Back of the goal square, they've got it now. Crossing across the midfield is a quick kick, finds McStay. McStay spins around, goes to the goal square all by himself. Hoskin Elliott couldn't quite hold the mark. Scramble, right a metre out. Radically a desperate defence. And it was Waynor that was involved in the middle there.
It's brilliant.
It goes so quickly, speed kills.
9 to 17 inside 50s. But Collingwood it's just living in their forward line.
Ball up in the goal square. Dangerous moments for Geelong. Stanley wins the hit out, finds the safety. The boundary line, not quite. Tunnel ball from Elliott. Paddles it between his legs. Atkins has it. Drilled in a tackle from Crisp, and now it's out. And a throw in forward pocket for the Pies.
And the setup outside the back 50, Collingwood have just got it sewn up. If this ball comes out quick, Collingwood will take it straight back. They've got numbers really well aligned outside. Geelong need to get their forward line structure right.
Collingwood have kicked the last 3 in the game. Boundary throw in. Darcy Cameron wins the hit out, but down to Bowes of the Cats. Hooks the kick out of the defensive arc. Neale hands to it. No mark. Falls to Maynard. Paddles it away. Straight to Myers though of the Cats. Kicks in the middle of the ground. Hoskin Elliott collects for Collingwood. Hand pass to Murphy. Short to DeGoey. He goes off his right foot, and that right buttock's heavily corked at least earlier in the game. Short kick to Maynard. Maynard long, top of the goal square. Pies at the drop. Scooped up Elliott. Trying to get a leg free. Can't do so. Hand pass to Myercheck, forward pocket. Short kick through the hands of Radicalier. Still a live footy. McStay, hand pass to Atkins. He's dragged down and the ball up. 15 out from the Collingwood goal. Geelong by a point as the seconds tick down in the first half.
Yeah, they've done well to hold on the Cats because they're coming to Pies.
Bobbles around down there. Dangerfield on the bottom of it. Flicks it out. O'Connor. And then Tui launches a long bomb out of the defensive 50 and Frampton up over the top of Ollie Henry. Knuckles that over the boundary line. So it'll be a boundary throw in.
So the bench would now be screaming at Geelong. Only seconds to go. Just pack this stoppage up. Do not let a quick kick give Collingwood a chance.
Cats lead it by a point. Led by as much as 16 at quarter time. Ball tossed back in. Darcy Cameron gets his palm to it. And that'll do us on one of the best opening halves of AFL footy we have seen so far this year. You just see the jumpers, the hoops and the stripes, and 80,000 plus at the MCG. And you feel like it's September. And that's exactly how these two heavyweights have played here this evening. At the main break, it's Geelong by 1 point, 8-3-51. Collingwood 7-8-50. The goal kickers, Jeremy Cameron booted 3 in the first term. He's got 4 to his name. Singles to Stengel, Close, Henry and Zach Guthrie. And for the Pies, 3 to Brodie Myercheck. And then there was Elliott, Pendlebury, Howe and Adams. Bigger story happened off the field. As much as you couldn't take your eyes off the high tempo, attacking, fierce football, it was off the field where it all happened. And Tim Hodges is down there to take us through it. That first half action on the bench, Hodgie.
It's been amazing, Kelly. Look at just the demeanour of the two sub-players, if you would. Gary Rowan is he's walking around the boundary, almost at the Geelong race. Just the look of that hip injury. I'm not sure, I think he's going to miss a bit of footy, just the look on his face as much as anything. Whereas you compare it to Darcy Moore, he's been out there slapping the back of every Magpie player. If I could just take you back during about 5 minutes to go in that quarter, every player from the Collingwood, I was sitting almost beside Darcy Moore here on the boundary, and every Collingwood player was coming to the bench and just checking and saying, Darcy, what's happened? And Jeremy Howe was the biggest one. He sort of went to hug him and said, what's happened? And I know you were a bit cheeky, Kelly, during that call, saying the hamstring went ping. Darcy Moore didn't say my hamstring's tight. He said, I've done my hamstring. So, and the look of Jeremy Howe afterwards was just a shattered teammate, but also a shattered friend when he told him the news. So that's going to be the biggest story, I feel, out of tonight, win, lose or draw for the Pies, that they are going to lose their captain, Darcy Moore, you would think, for the rest of the home and away season.
Thanks, Hodgie. Jordan De Goey had work done really high on his right side, on his buttocks, which looks like at least a severe corky. He did come back. He's kicked mainly off his left peg when he has been able to kick the footy, or very short on his right side, but has continued out there running mainly through the corridor. And as we heard, Gary Rowan with that hip adductor injury subbed out of the game in that second term as well. One thing it did do, when Moore went down, it stung Collingwood into action, that they completely turned the game around from the point that he missed. They were 16 down at that stage when Moore went off. They fell 22 behind. And from that point on, Collingwood have then been able to respond with 5 of the next 7 goals in the match. The thoughts of Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse. It's Geelong by 1 at half-time.
There's a reason, Mick, why we all love watching Collingwood play when they're playing well. That was some of the most scintillating footy you'll see. And in a game where Geelong were playing terrific footy, and Geelong had the game on their terms for the first quarter, certainly, and early, They flipped it, and they flipped it with some of the most bold and brave and fast footy going around. Dacos superb, Crisp, DeGoey, everyone was joining in. They just went and went and went, and it was brilliant to watch, and Geelong couldn't go with them.
No, that summed up really well, Lingy. To me, okay, Collingwood went from first quarter having 79 possessions to 120, so they've gone 40 more possessions. Now, we might say, oh, what did Geelong do? Geelong had 40 less than them. So if this keeps going, now we know every quarter is different, but the styles are just, and you have to build your style around what you play like. Now, you've pointed and I've pointed to Holmes thinking, well, he's got pace. Where is he? He's had 4 possessions. 4 possessions, fumbled a fair bit of time. Collingwood's run off the back line is, when they get running, they link through the middle, and then the back line, I don't care, you can have 6 Stewarts playing for Geelong. They've got to anticipate which one's going to get the receive. Is it someone going to be chipping up at me, going long, going sideways, whatever? No back line can hold out against that run. I don't care how good you are.
That wave.
And this is where I looked at last week at Hawthorn. They stopped Collingwood cold in the back half through real diligence and made them play slow. Geelong play a slow game. Let's face facts. They're not quick enough leg speed, so therefore they play a nice precision game, get it in the forward line. They can get you over the top. Cameron's kicked 4 goals, 1 out of the goal square. The others he really earned. But if it's going to be Jeremy Cameron only, it's going to be a Jeremy Cameron forward line only, then they are in absolute strife, because Collingwood will distribute their goals, they'll distribute the players through the middle getting the football. The sad thing is, for Geelong, the players that we are looking to maybe flip over and be something that can get them into a final series, and there's no doubt they can win the last, I don't know if they can win today, but they can win the next couple, they can make the finals. But to have an impact in the finals, you've got to have leg speed. Yeah. They've got no leg speed.
No, and you're right, that kick inside forward 50 for the Cats has to hit the target. It has to be perfect, like it was at times in the first quarter. But the moment it missed, and Isaac Quainer was just amazing in a couple of moments to just get a hand in and turn it over. The moment it's not a mark and a set shot at goal for the Cats, it was gone. It was back out the other way at a million miles an hour.
Stengel and these sort of players, they've got to put more pressure on. And if Holmes is not getting the ball in the midfield, give him a little cameo on the forward line and let him play as a high half forward, because he's got speed. Because you've got to be able to match speed with speed, but also get the contested football in your forward line. Now, it doesn't mean you have to score every time, but you can't allow Collingwood a link hand pass, because if the third time they touch it, I'll tell you right now, it's in the middle.
Yeah, it's gone. And the 2 that we identified before the game, and you spoke about one already, for Geelong maybe being the ones who could make that little leap in the middle of the ground, were Max Holmes and Tanner Bruin.
Yep.
Now, Holmes has had 4 touches and Bruin's had 5.
Yep.
You compare that to what we reeled off as the Collingwood midfield.
That's who I'd bring in.
Brian Myers in there, yeah.
You have to. That's smart.
Collingwood midfield, Josh Dacos, unbelievable, 20 touches. Crisp, 15. Now a bit of that's off half-back. Through the middle of the ground as well. DeGoey, 14. Lipinski, 14. Quainer's half-back, but he's had 12. Pendlebury's 11. They are just finding the footy.
Adams, 11.
They are moving it like lightning. And the Cats players, probably I'd say short of Atkins and Dangerfield as first possession type players, aren't then getting that next link to open up Collingwood back the other way.
No.
And that's what they're going to have to change at half-time, is, okay, if we're getting our hands on the footy fairly well, when you look at the clearances, Mick, it's even issue. In fact, Geelong are up by 3, so that's Dangerfield and Atkins more than anything. Then who else? Who else is going to jump up and support that? Because we can't give the ball back to Collingwood, because as we've been talking about, when it goes back to Collingwood, good luck. You're almost not laying a finger on them, and they're popping a goal through up the other end of the ground. It's impressive to watch. It's the Collingwood team, when they play like that, Corbs.
That's why they're on
top of the ladder.
Did you notice the change when Moore went off? I mean, interestingly, the pressure rating, which I'm sure we all love these stats, but basically it's measuring the 1%ers and the sort of overall theme and the pressure applied. First 20 minutes, the pressure rating for Collingwood was 159, which is low compared to AFL average. Since the 20-minute mark of the first quarter, around the time Moore went off, their pressure rating's been 220.
220, yeah. And not many sides can withstand that.
And can I say, that's not just... I know we hear that and we think tackler and, at them. It's also covering off the receivers.
Yep.
It's the pressure right around where the ball is. So that person is forced to just slam it on the boot, or he gets caught and he's just got nowhere to go. That's what they've done superbly.
It's been a fantastic night already at the G. A couple off the SMS just before we go to the news. Gary says, "G'day team, all the way from Humpback Highway, sitting around the keg fire. Go Cats, watch out. Thousands of whales heading your way with their new kids." That's already 3 poor umpiring decisions going the Pies' way. My check mark, shoving the back before the first goal, then recalling after taking the advantage. Not good. And Jackie says, in bed with a block of chocolate, listening in Adelaide. It's not a bad way to spend the night, sort of listening to us. And you'll like this one, Mick, from Shane in Mount Macedon. Many years ago, when I was in grade 6 at Burke Hall in Kew, Ferrell Merritt visited to do a footy clinic. We said, "Show us the stat pass, Mr. Merritt." We pleaded. He then kicked it from the goal square to the centre square on our small ground. It went about 40 metres, no higher than 2.5 metres off the ground. And we were in raptures.
Yeah, that is Ferrell Merritt's trademark. It's what we used to call the drop kick.
Yep.
Stab
was
pass.
Called a stab pass.
Yeah.
And the last one, can I just say, the last one I saw was I was playing Cowboy Neil, Kevin, the great Cowboy Neil at fullback, was kicking off. The man on his mark, no hands in the air. He had his hands over his front part because every third drop kick would go navel high and destroy the bloke in front. So you just had to be, because they weren't all that successful hitting off the ground.
Mick Moldhouse and Cameron Lee, Corbin Middlemass and Kelly Underwood calling the footy. Tim Hodges on the boundary, our Friday night crew. It's been a dramatic night so far. Hamstring injury to Darcy Moore, hip adductor complaint to Gary Rowan, both subbed out, and Jordan De Goey is hobbled as well with a severe cork but is playing on. It's Geelong by 1 point at half-time, having led the game by as many as 22. The Sunday teams in the second half action on the other side of this, but in the meantime, let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Glenn Lauder. Hawaii's governor says wildfires spreading across the island of Maui are likely the largest natural disasters in the state's history. At least 53 people are now known to have been killed, and that death toll is now up to 55, with the western half of the island still cut off as search and rescue teams comb through smouldering ruins. Governor Josh Green says it's going to take many years and billions of dollars to rebuild.
What we saw was likely the largest natural disaster in Hawaii's state history. We are seeing loss of life. As you know, the number has been rising and we will continue to see loss of life.
In one of his last public engagements, the outgoing Reserve Bank governor suggested interest rates may need to rise again to fight inflation. With the story, here's Dan Ziffer.
Philip Lowe's run as Reserve Bank Governor comes to an end next month. And today in Canberra, he's been facing his final parliamentary grilling. COVID was the crisis few saw coming, but Mr Lowe says what followed, rapid inflation in the cost of living, was something central banks and markets didn't predict. The RBA has hiked its cash rate 4 percentage points in a year, the steepest rise in history, as it tries to tame inflation. The cash rate now sits at 4.1%, and Mr Lowe says the bank may still look to lift rates to get inflation to its target below 3% a year.
We're now in a place where it is credible to say that inflation will be back to target within a couple of years.
Philip Lowe will hand over to Michelle Bullock in September.
Refugee advocates are welcoming a move by the Albanese government to increase the number of people able to resettle in Australia. The federal government program will now accept 20,000 people a year. That's an increase of more than 2,100 people. Asylum Seeker Resource Centre CEO Con Karapanagiatias says the increase will make Australians more considerate towards those seeking asylum.
The announcement today from the Albanese government of just over 2,000 extra humanitarian places is to be celebrated. It's an important and welcomed first step towards a more compassionate and humane refugee policy. There's still significant work to be done, but today is a day to say well done to the government for an important first step.
A woman from the New South Wales Upper Hunter region has been sentenced to 9.5 years in prison over her role in a drug importation conspiracy. With the story, here's Bridget Murphy.
Well-known horse racing identity Felicity Fraser cried quietly as her sentence was read to a Newcastle court this afternoon. Fraser pleaded guilty to a charge of conspiring to import a commercial quantity of a border-controlled drug in relation to several shipments from South America that either contained drugs or were imported under the impression they contained drugs. Judge Peter McGrath told the court Fraser's role was not at the top level, but she knowingly took part in the crime. She will serve a 5.5-year non-parole period. Due to time already served, she will be eligible for parole in August 2027.
The Victorian state government says that it's grown its teacher workforce twice as fast as the national average, amid concerns about a statewide shortage of teachers. The Australian Education Union's written to the Education Minister in Victoria demanding urgent action on teacher shortages, saying that advertised vacancies in public schools have increased by 90% since the start of the year to more than 1,800. It says that schools routinely receive just 1 or 2 applications to job ads, but the Andrews state government says that there are always vacancies in the process of being filled, which it says is a good sign of the larger number of teachers moving through the sector. A former WA Minister for Aboriginal Affairs says that he's disappointed that the state's Liberal leader has now withdrawn her support for the proposed Indigenous voice to federal parliament. Libby Mettam had previously indicated she'd vote yes in the upcoming referendum on the issue, but now has revealed she no longer supports the process. Stephen Dawson has described her decision as an amazing backflip and is questioning whether the West Australian Liberal MP Nick Guran, who Mr Dawson says doesn't support the voice, had an influence on Ms Mettam. Overseas, and the US says it appreciates a determination made by a West African bloc to explore all options for the peaceful resolution of the coup in Niger. The ECOWAS group has approved a standby military force and is calling for constitutional order in Niger following the military coup that toppled the President Mohamed Bazoum. The US and UN are concerned about the health and safety of the deposed president, who spent more than 2 weeks under house arrest. You've been listening to the latest ABC News.
There's a bigger picture to be found, a wider viewpoint. There's more than one side to every story, and you'll find so much more with ABC News Online. Around the world and from wherever you are, get a bigger picture of the stories that matter to you, with explainers, live blogs and analysis. Your news, your way, every day. From Australia's most trusted news source. Download the ABC News app or head to ABC News Online. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
They're saying that Darcy Moore is out of the game with hamstring tightness. So I'm not sure if that changes anything, but they're confident it's not a full hamstring.
It settles for Neil, and he can team up with Ollie Henry. Handballs into Cameron. He's got 4. End-to-end stuff by the Cats. Here's Bobby Hill outside of his boot. Something special. It ricochets to Ginnivan. Gives it off to Mychek, who's going to dribble it through. Oh, that's the play of the night from the Pies. Bobby Hill to Ginnivan, and Mychek with the perfect bounce.
Still 60 out, left arm forward. Crowded, congested forward 50 for the Magpies. Mychek in the pocket, the target. The kick is superb. Like a heat-guided missile onto the chest of Brodie Mychek for his third. He's having quite a night. He's kicking them from everywhere. Pendlebury, hand pass to Goey, lifts it over to Bobby Hill. Short kick inside the forward arc. Elliott receives, closes, goals. Brilliant. What a passage from the Magpies. By hook or by crook, they're staying alive in this game.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
It's been a dramatic night already at the MCG. Geelong led by 22 points late in the opening quarter, and now they lead by just 1 at the half. Collingwood have kicked the last 3 of the match, and that doesn't tell really half the story. Darcy Moore did his hamstring in the opening quarter. He's been subbed out. The club is saying it's hamstring tightness. As Tim Hodge has been reporting downstairs, it sort of felt like a little bit more serious than that. Gary Rowan, meanwhile, has a hip adductor injury. He too has been subbed out of the game, and Jordan De Goey had a lot of work done sort of on his glute on the right side. Has continued the game, but certainly doesn't look completely free in the way that he's gone about it, particularly in that second quarter after the collision. Corbin Middlemass and Kelly Underwood calling the footy. We've got Tim Hodges on the boundary. Our grandstand AFL experts are Cameron Ling and Mick Malthouse. Now, everything else that's going on in footy, we've got Sunday teams. Of course, there are 3 games to be played this Sunday. We saw squads last night. They've been further trimmed up. Hawthorn and the Bulldogs. Carl Amon comes back in for the Hawks. Seamus Mitchell is the man who gives way. Alex Keith is back in for the Dogs. Jason Johannesson and Anthony Scott both out injured, so a couple of big outs for the Bulldogs. The St Kilda-Richmond match, which is Maddie's match under the roof at Docklands. Dusty Martin, Dylan Grimes and Thompson Dow all come into the Richmond team. Banks, Hopper, Cumberland, the 3 outs at this stage. Meanwhile, Tim Membry is back for St Kilda. Caminiti loses his place. Seb Ross also returns. Burns and Clark are the other outs at this stage for St Kilda. And a heap of changes at Port Adelaide, as you'd expect, with illness last week. 5 ins. Farrell, Jones, Bergman, Finlayson, Aaliyah. The guys that are out at this stage, Burgoyne, Bonner, Evans, Mead, McKenzie and Visitini. The 6 outs from the team that lost to Geelong last Saturday night. Toby McMullen has been named to make his debut. He's also signed a contract extension, so Toby McMullen to make his debut for the Giants in that game against Port Adelaide. Josh Fay also comes into their lineup. Daniels and Bedford are suspended and Angland is out ill. So they're the Sunday teams for the 3 games in front of us. Meanwhile, the NRL, which is on tonight, of course, if you want to listen to this, you can find it through the ABC Listen app. Look out for the green icon. The ABC Sport button. Earlier tonight, Cronulla 36 defeated the Gold Coast Titans 6. So a 30-point win for the Sharks. And at the Gabba tonight, the Brisbane Broncos and Parramatta 42 zip as it stands at the moment. Brisbane with the only 42 points in the match. There's 25 minutes to go there. So that's quite dramatic. Kelly Underwood has been following the World Cup closely, of course, the FIFA Women's World Cup, as I'm sure many of you have. The results earlier tonight, Sweden 2-1 over Japan, so a significant upset. The title favourites, Cal, eliminated?
In Japan.
Yeah.
England are the title favourites, but Japan definitely for that side of the draw would have been the favourites to get through.
And Spain earlier, a 1-1 draw at the end of regulation against the Netherlands. Spain winning 2-1 in extra time.
Yeah, cracker of a goal from the Spanish teenager. And what it means is there will be a new name on the World Cup trophy next Sunday evening in Sydney.
It's is significant. So we're down to 2 on that side of the draw. The semi-final on Tuesday in Auckland will be Sweden up against Spain. Of course, for the Aussies, it's all about tomorrow evening, 5 p.m. Eastern, Australia and France. You can hear it through the ABC Listen app. Look out for the green and gold World Cup button. What a night it's going to be in Brisbane at Lang Park. The Matildas up against France. And then England play Colombia later in Sydney. And, of course, the winners of those 2 quarters will meet in a semi next Wednesday in Sydney. The game will be on the big screen here at the MCG as well.
Amazing. All the giant screens around Rod Laver Arena. You're hearing up in Brisbane at the Rugby League Stadium as well. So a lot to look forward to. A lot to look forward to as well in this second half. We've had a cracker of an opening half. That was a crooked bounce. Should have been recalled. Jordan De Goey says, "No, I'm going to keep playing." And he's kicked it straight down the throat of McStay. What a sizzler of a start for the Pies.
Yeah, beautiful play by Jordan De Goey. He just played to the whistle. Everyone stopped from Geelong, but you just got to keep playing until the umpire decides to call it back. And De Goey on the left foot just got it to McStay's advantage. Fantastic mark out in front of Sam De Koning.
So McStay hasn't kicked a goal tonight. He has now. And they are in front for the first time since the early stages of this game. Pies by 5 points. And they nail the first major in the opening minute of the third term. 8-8-56, Geelong 8-3-51.
Well, it's going to have to be a real change around here. We know that the Collingwood have only just got in front, but to me, mind-wise, football-wise, they got in front with probably 3 or 4 minutes into the second quarter. They just couldn't put Geelong away. I don't know how Geelong can change up their style, but they're going to have to restrict Collingwood style. And that's how sides are beaten, by restricting what Collingwood do best. But the Pies are up and about now.
They've kicked the last 4 goals, bracketed by that half-time break.
4th lead change of the night. What a turnaround from Darcy Moore's injury late in that opening term. Collingwood have clicked into gear. Out in the middle, De Goey knocks it back to Darcy Cameron. Kicks out wide to the wing. Hill collects. Hand pass to Dacos. Feeds it back to Hill. Sidesteps his way around Holmes. Takes him on. Hill kicks to half forward. They all slide over. Out the back, O'Connor doesn't collect the footy. Taken off it. Still a live ball. Lipinski puts his head over it. Pack forms around him and a ball up. Half forward for Collingwood. Pies by 5 points, as Kel said, kicked the last 4 in the game, 2 minutes into the third quarter.
Kicking to the city end, Collingwood in this third term. Darcy Cameron caught one high. Umpire didn't see it. Dangerfield tries to burst away. Handballs to Atkins. He's going nowhere. He's tackled by Josh Dacos, the All-Australian wingman for 2023. Cameron Ling told us earlier. He's one of the selectors.
We do have a meeting this week to start firming up that squad and that team before the final meeting after the final round of the season. I don't reckon I'll get much argument there, Cal.
See what else, Corbin, we can squeeze out of him before the end of the night.
Snow Frampton's definitely picking up cameras, so that's a good test.
Oh, what about the Goey? That is a fierce tackle on Bruin.
Yeah, he just slipped at the same time too. That's why it went high.
So Bruin wants to move it quickly to Stanley in the centre. He's got it. Handball was a little sloppy for Duncan. Makes him work for it. He traps it. Gives it to Kolajasny. Flares it wide. Standing start was Zach Guthrie. Closing late was Hoskin Elliott. 50-50 ball has been picked up eventually by De Koning. And then the kick out wide finds Smith.
This is where they really are slow here. This is where Collingwood get all their numbers back behind the ball.
Into the pocket he goes. He's looking for someone to run and jump. That someone is Billy Frampton. Couldn't take it in the air. Got his hands to it. Quick to Maynard. Off to Markov. De Goey flicks it wide. Here they go. These exquisite hands. Crisp, then long with a kick down the line to a one-on-one. Falls the way of McStay. Beats his opponent. Kicks back inboard to Adams. Takes off. No one comes ahead. Kicks over the top to Elliott, running back with the flight. Stewart was coming the other direction, but Jamie got there first.
Well, I've got to say, Geelong need to have a real close look at their work rate, because Collingwood had 5 players run forward to that ball. Geelong had 2. They're getting left in the wake, and it's sometimes it's work ethic as much as anything else.
Elliott, we know he's a sharpshooter. Sometimes it's the simple ones directly in front that contest him. And there's nothing more than running at full pace in the pockets. But directly in front, can he convert? The momentum has swung in dramatic fashion. It's 5 in a row to the Pies. Elliott's got his second and the Pies are out by 11 points. 9-8-62. Geelong in quicksand. 8-3-51.
Mick, just compare the two styles of movement in those two passages of play. Geelong were trying to go quick, so they linked up with handballs through the middle of the ground after a nice kick to the across half back. They get out, but it went as handballs. Sideways, and Isaac Smith gets the ball out on the Shane Warne side wing. Yeah. Slow. Collingwood are able to get behind that. Collingwood, on the other hand, when they go through, they go straight through the corridor.
Yeah.
Doesn't go sideways, it goes forwards.
Collingwood by 11 points now. Back in the middle, Stanley wins the hit out, gets the first possession himself. Hand pass to Parfitt. Heads to half forward with the kick. Stengel a hand on it, but spills through to Maynard. Hand pass links up with Crisp. A slight fumble, put himself under pressure. He's tackled. And a ball up half forward for the Cats. Geelong led by 22 at the half-hour mark of the opening quarter.
I reckon De Goey's really struggling.
Collingwood by 11 now. There's that serious cork after the knock to his glute earlier. Kick inside 50 from Smith, and Murphy takes the intercept mark, lays it off to Noble, and here go the Pies again.
Noble gives it to Markov. Frampton. Now it comes back to Josh Dacos. Looks like he's got all the time in the world. Kicks to the wings. Spoil came. Chris thought he had it. Chris with the kick. Smothered again by O'Connor. Coming out of that stoppage was Holmes, and he's able to hit up his teammate, and Neal's taken a mark 40 metres out, 30 metres out on a slidey shangle. This is a big kick for Shannon Neal.
So that's going to look good, Nick.
But it was more a mistake, was it, by Collingwood fumble?
Yep, and it was. They were almost through again. It just hit a Geelong player. Geelong player didn't intercept it. It hit him on the way through from that mistake.
Never kicked a goal in his career. Played 2 games last year, one against the Crows, started as the sub against Port. How's this for an introduction? 3rd game in front of 80,000 at the MCG, and it's offline. Just slides off the side of his right boot through for a minor score, so the margin is 10. Pies lead. We'll get down to Tim Hodges shortly, but De Goey back off, hobbling with that really bad corky.
Pies by 10. They link up by hand again as Dacos off the back flank gives it to Noble, kicks down the line, and Stewart takes the intercept mark back of the wing. Hodgie on the boundary. Tim.
Yeah, Jordan De Goey really hobbled towards the bench. He's in the hands of the physio and the doctor getting treatment at the moment. It's just going to be a work in progress to get him through this night with that corky.
Cork on his glute in the second quarter. He's hobbled throughout, mainly just running from one side of the centre square to the other. Collingwood win it back on the wing. Pendlebury squeezes it, kick to Mitchell. Hand pass back to Noble. Great pass to half forward. Stewart did well to break it up. Effect the would-be mark from Howe. Howe butters up. Hand pass to Lipinski. To Hill. Kicks for Ginnivan. He marks and moves it on. 2 Pies in the goal square. McStay marks. Pops it through. And Collingwood are putting on a show. A second for McStay. 6 in a row for the Magpies. 8 gone, 3rd term. 10-8, 68. Geelong 8-4, 52. From 22 down, Collingwood lead it by 16. 8 gone in the 3rd.
Well, it's quite embarrassing defensively, Geelong, because they're playing like you're coaching your under-10s, Lingy, 6, 6 and 6. This is how Geelong are playing. They're keeping their forwards up, they're keeping their mids up, and they're keeping their backs back. The backs every now and again sorting out, leaving 4v2 or 4v6. And as a consequence, Collingwood are just outnumbered. There was 2 key players in the goal square by themselves, which is quite remarkable. And no Geelong players, no midfielders were entering into there. So they've been outworked, outmuscled, outrun.
From 22 points down to a 16-point lead now for Collingwood. Cameron wins it in the air. Tries to get it to Pendlebury, but it was well done by O'Connor. And then Parfitt lands a massive tackle on Darcy Cameron, who's caught in the bottom of the pack.
He does that well, Parfitt. It's one of his greatest assets is his in-close work.
Ball up on the edge of the circle. Cameron again beats Reece Stanley. Stanley's pleading for the free. Umpire says no, and again it's Parfitt this time tackling Lipinski. Stanley. Mitchell, Tom Mitchell, quick hands to Crisp. Quick little kick, skies it. Howe got there late. Radaglia with the thump down. Atkins with the handball. Back. Tries to give it to Smith. To Parfitt. And now back to Smith. Dinky kick around on his left, which we've seen him do so many times in his 4-time premiership career. And he hits up Stewart. The defender's got it in front of the interchange gates. Kicks to centre half forward. Stanley was able to slap it down. Holmes had it, lost it. Tackled by Hill. Brilliant. He'll be rewarded, Bobby Hill.
And watch him go from here. He's just going to get it quickly out to Dacos.
The players everywhere.
Oh, they were free.
He's got it at centre half back. Socks down, fluorescent orange boots on, and instead he goes slow and kicks sideways to Frampton.
Well, they're just having a breather, really, because the run has been just unbelievable.
He kicks further wide, right on the boundary in front of the benches where Quaynor marks uncontested. Goes along. Leaper was Howe. Radaglia in front, got his hands to it. Tom Mitchell handballs. Tries to get it to Lipinski, but it goes over the boundary line, and Mitchell will run to the bench where he will come off for a breather, and Jordan De Goey's going to limp back on. And it'll be tossed back in right in front of the Pies bench. They lead it by 16 points.
6-goal swing in this game from 22 down to 16 up. Huge turnaround for the boundary throwing. Darcy Cameron wins it down. Dacos hand pass is turnover. Parfitt puts it back into dispute. Here's De Goey. Wins it. Hand pass went to Holmes though. Geelong back the other way. Gives it to Parfitt. Kicks to centre half forward. Cameron's got to go. That's Jeremy. Thumped away at the back by Murphy. Into the path of Duncan. Closed down by Ginnivan. Hot hand pass to Myers. He coughs it up in the tackle. Falls to Ginnivan. Tackled by O'Connor. He's not winning any of those free kicks. Jack Ginnivan looking for a high tackle. The umpire not buying what he sold and will have the ball up.
Oh, that was high.
Alongside the centre circles. Darcy Cameron wins it down. Pye squares a kick forward. Lightning speed. Bobby Hill. He's Bobby Thrill. Kicks it on the run from 50 out. Collingwood by 22. 44-point swing in the game. They are a fire that can't be put out at the moment. 7 in a row for Collingwood. 11-8-74 to Geelong 8-4-52. We've travelled 12 minutes in the third term.
Well, it was coming to me. This was just, the tsunami was coming. It's just a matter of, could Geelong stand up and give some resistance? Well, quite frankly, there's no resistance. It's just every time there's a contested football, Collingwood are breaking through with speed.
7 in a row to the Pies. Listen to how their fans respond. The chant's gone up around the MCG. A packed MCG. Friday night footy. What have the Cats got left in them? Darcy Cameron tries to handball to De Goey. De Goey's forced to tackle. Parfitt to the turf. Ball up. Stanley. Cameron. Tangle again. Stanley looks to get it to Pendlebury. Quick kick goes the way of De Goey. Quick hands. He gets it off to Hoskin Elliott. To Bobby Hill again. Pierces it. And unmanned inside 50 is McCreery directly in front.
Yeah, and the trouble is, the reason why McCreery's free there is there are so many Collingwood midfielders just swarming out of that stoppage, and the Geelong midfielders are getting left behind. By not half a metre, by 5, 6, 8 metres back at the stoppage, it means the Geelong defenders are thinking, well, who the hell do I try and stop here? Clever forward, drop into a little bit of space and get a shot at goal.
For a 28-point lead on the back of 8 consecutive goals, McCreery hangs it out to the right. He's offline, and it's a 23-point lead instead. 11-9-75, Geelong 8-4-52.
Earlier tonight, Darcy Moore did his hamstring in the first quarter, so expected to miss a fair patch of footy. The club saying hamstring tightness, but didn't look like a good one for the Collingwood captain. They never are at this time of the year, as Tui goes long into the middle of the ground and Henry takes the mark. Cops the jeers from the Magpie Army. Long kick down to centre half forward. Holmes marks 55 from home. Pokes the kick inside 50. Izzy Smith runs onto it. Dabs the pass into the pocket. Wants Cameron. Oh, the boundary umpires on the spot. It looked out on the full.
That's about 3 metres out on the full.
Absolutely.
Well, that's not a good decision.
Oh, look at that. Look at the right smile from Jeremy Cameron.
Cameron's going to be paid the mark. He turned to grab it. The boundary umpire was there on the spot. He must have been looking at something else.
Oh, Cameron's he's loving this. He's right up against the boundary as the Pies fans hang over the fence.
I see the fence actually gone out the window. 2 Collingwood players went through the umpire over the fence.
It's not the Wayne Harms pocket at the other end of the ground, but it was a long way out. Jeremy Cameron to make it sting just a little more. Turns to the fans in the front row.
And gives it to them, Corby. Absolutely gives it to them.
That's 5 for Jez. Collingwood by 17 points, 15 gone in the third. 11-9-75 Collingwood. The Cats move to 9-4-58.
It's a great kick. I mean, from that distance, I mean, he should never have been having the kick because it was out on the full. But
it's no use turning to the central umpire. It's not his role to say it's out on the full.
No, the boundary umpire was
right there. So
right there.
So both Maynard and someone else is having a crack at the central umpire. That's not his role. His role. I was just watching where the umpire was now. He's got to go to Specsavers, honestly.
He is in the most perfect position there.
Well, you know what? Cameron marked it in the front row.
And he let the front row know. Look at that. The drama of this contest continues. Pies win it out of the centre. Little handball was to Pendlebury. Piercing left foot, hits up Hoskin Elliott at half forward. De Goey's trying to break free. Umpire blows his whistle, says play on. Hoskin Elliott flares it wide, it's still to Pendlebury.
So Collingwood could run forward, so they know they're going to run into space. Yeah. They don't have to worry about, where's my man? They're just running.
Couple of kicks out. What does Scotty do? He launches to the top of the goal square where it was all Geelong. It slipped through the hands at the back. McCreery! McCreery just rubbing it in the face of those Cat fans that had just come alive. And he gets his first for the night. And it's back out by 23 points. 12-9-81. Cats 9-4-58. 17 gone in the third.
They're not kind to each other down there, the 2 backline players. both Geelong players could have said, oh, it's one or the other takes the mark, but neither of them spoke, and as a consequence, the ball just falls to the back. Look at, like, it's probably Stewart's mark, but
that's what happens when you're feeling
take
the heat.
Yeah, you've got to take it. I mean, it's no use go and crook at the bloke underneath you. Stewart actually jumped over the Geelong teammate.
Collingwood with 8 of the last 9 goals in the game. Pies by 23. Back in the middle, Neil soccers it forward for Geelong. Now Chris picks it up, back edge of the square. Hand pass to Mitchell. Free kick.
Holding the ball, really?
Wow.
No.
Gee.
Tackle from Dangerfield. And so Chris, no handball. Dangerfield.
He's just about beheaded him. Right in front of the umpire.
They're going to call a downfield free. So Jack Crisp was coming across to try and block or smother the kick at Dangerfield. Made contact. Dangerfield hits the deck. The umpire says it's a downfield free.
Well, it did get him high, and it probably was a bit late. Anyway, he marked the ball anyway.
Just a light left arm around the neck of Dangerfield.
And look who happens to have the footy. It's Ollie Henry against his old team. Crowd engaged. They'll roar now. Henry puts it through. Geelong's last 2 goals coming from fortunate decisions. One no whistle, the other a downfield free. And either side of that, Collingwood have smacked through 8 goals. The Pies by 17 points, 18 gone in the third term. Geelong moved to 10-4-64. Collingwood 12-9-81. And Ollie Henry bobs up with his second of the night.
He hasn't done too bad, except it's not the... Well, I can lay blame on 6 forwards that aren't putting pressure on, but he's marked well, he's kicked well, he's presented well.
I'm going to defend the Cats forwards a little bit, Nick.
Oh, you're because of the
midfielders are so free for Collingwood and running so hard.
No, that's true.
They've just got options to go to.
Yeah.
So Neil...
But it still comes out of their back line.
The third gamer.
Because they can deliver it straight away, they...
Into the ruck against McStay. He flicks it down to himself. His handball was smothered, though, by Pendlebury. And then the soccer off the ground from McStay. Bumbles around at centre half forward. DeGoey applies a tackle too high on O'Connor. Gee, it's threatening to just ignite this contest. O'Connor goes wide on the wing. Taking the mark was Kolajasny. Quick hands. Moves it to Atkins. Tries to break the tackle. Gets the handball off. Piercing kick to the top of the goal square. Murphy for the Pies. Wonderful defensive mark, and then he wants to move it quickly, and he does just that.
Well, he's got options, Kel. When they take a mark, 4 or 5 are running.
Hoskin Elliott was the one that called for it and took the uncontested mark and then kicked to Quaynor. He's just going to hold it up in that defensive 50.
Quaynor now kicks along to a contest. Jeremy Howe gets a run at it and spills it straight through his fingers. Pack forms behind him. Howe back involved. And the umpire eventually calls for it and says ball up. It's a 17-point lead for the Pies as we tick into time on in the third. Earlier tonight, Darcy Moore doing his hamstring club, saying hamstring tightness. Gary Rowan subbed out with a hip adductor injury. And DeGoey hobbled with a heavy corky from the stoppage. Geelong through traffic. Myers, hand pass to Guthrie, kicks inside 50, turnover. And Frampton with the intercept mark, centre half back for Collingwood.
His kick went sideways. It just bobbed up for an anxious moment. Izzy Smith had a look at it, but instead it was Lipinski that did take the mark. Goes short, flaring up wider still to Quaynor, brings it back to the southern wing. Markov gets it, gives it to Lipinski, who kept running. Short kick to Elliott, marks. They're slicing and dicing their way down the MCG. Back inboard to Tom Mitchell. Kicks sideways to Noble, the speedster. Takes off, delivers into the pocket. McCreary from behind, player in front, Tui. Takes the mark. And well done by the Irishman. Kicks backwards into the defensive goal square where Colin Jasney's got it last line.
It took a very good mark from Tui because that was slicing and dicing by Collingwood.
He's got it at the city end and he runs around the southern wing. Cameron was there, Quaynor with the thump down. Quick hands, off to the run of Lipinski, closes to 40, open goal square, touched right on the line by Stewart. A desperate vice-captain in Stewart getting back and juggling that Sherrin over the line. So Collingwood by 17, 7 minutes to play in this third term. Cats led by as much as 22 in the opening quarter. Darcy Moore off with a suspected hamstring injury.
Bruin marks the kick out, goes wide to O'Connor. Short kick down the wing, finds Close.
Close needs to get involved. He's generally a good defensive player in the forward line. This going backward stuff is really going to just, Collingwood just set up in front of you and they'll run the ball out. It's not a good tactic by...
back and across to O'Connor. Kicks a wounded duck down to half forward as it floats its way through to Dangerfield. Knocks it away to Noble. Hand pass back into Pendlebury. Pack forms around him. Umpire says ball up. Half forward here for the Cats.
Those are really interesting kicks. It's like a big loaf of bread.
Tired legs, I think, Mick. Tired, heavy legs. It's been frenetic, this contest. Bodies on the line, just like that, where Dangerfield tackles Noble to the turf. Close comes in and gets crunched.
So Lord finally got someone behind the ball, but that just then sets Collingwood up behind the ball as well.
Half forward here for the Pies. Neil flicks it twice in the ruck, over to Close, kicks into the pocket. Quaynor comes out, meets it heavily and then blazes away and kicks it into the fourth row of the fans. Get down to Hodgie in a moment. There's another injury, they're dropping like flies. John Noble is limping off, but in the meantime, Parfitt's got it right on 50, and he's just going to bomb it. Can they score a goal out of this one? Neil flies through and juggles it in the air and over the boundary line through for a minor score. Tim Hodges on the boundary, not another one for Pies fans.
Unfortunately it is. John Noble limped off. He couldn't put any weight on his right-hand side. It's either an ankle or a knee, and he wasn't even taken to the bench, was taken straight to the room, so the doctor heading down now.
Looks on our replay, Hodgie, maybe the ankle just getting trapped underneath the tackler there, Mick.
I agree with you, Lee.
Pies through Frampton, long kick down the wing, spills to Ginnivan, gets there on the bounce, jams it on the boot to the outer corridor, picked up there by Jake Colin-Jasny, tackled, just got a hand pass away to Bowes. Handball away to Holmes, swings the hand pass out wide, Dacos has a couple to beat, Dangerfield knocks it out of play and a throw in on the wing.
That's the ultimate example of how much pressure Collingwood is putting on. Max Holmes there just felt the heat, handball to no one.
Yeah.
Just on Noble, he's actually got the 8th longest consecutive game streak in the league. He's played 81 consecutive games tonight, so incredibly durable. Mid-season pick all those years ago. Collingwood by 17 points from the stoppage. Bruin, hurried kick forward. Frampton whacks it back away for Collingwood. Down to Maynard, sweeping hand pass out in front of Dacos.
And it sits for him beautifully as he strides out along the wing and then delivers to Adams, who's all by himself right on 50. He can curl the kick around and Hill marks, uncontested, into the goal square he goes where Howe takes the mark. Stewart, furious with his teammates, gets back and makes sure that Jeremy Howe can't play on and run into an open goal.
That is all Josh Dacos though.
He makes him go back and he's going to have to kick it over Tom Stewart's head.
The vision, the execution by Dacos set everything else up. From the moment he kicked that ball, it was just a certain goal.
From 22 points down, Jeremy Howe directly in front to the city end for his second of the night. Back out by 23 points. 12, 13, 10, 88. Geelong 10, 5, 65. And that margin is 23 at the 25-minute mark of that third quarter.
Not that he needed to do this, but Josh just reminding everyone that he's also signing a 6-year deal and one of the very best players in the competition. He's been doing it all year, but up to 26 disposals now for the game, 6 score involvements.
75% too, Lingy, which I think they're being harsh on him. I can't remember any of his disposals not hitting a target.
Well, and the ones that hit the target, he hits them where others wouldn't be able to, or even see the option.
Well, that's just, again, just carving Geelong up through the corridor. I know I'm saying it, Norwin, but you cannot live in this game without covering your corridor.
Horrific bounce back in the middle. That was something you touched on, Mick. Hawthorn did so well last week and shutting down the Pies. They've had easy passage through there so far tonight as Mitchell gets a hand pass away to Lipinski. He's tackled and the ball up again in the middle. So Noble hobbled off the ground, fears of an ankle injury. De Goey banged up but playing on. Suspected corky in his glute. And Darcy Moore a hamstring in the first quarter, subbed out. Not good news for Collingwood on the back of Nick Dacos going down last week. Side bottom missing tonight.
and they are still playing some of their most electric footy of the season.
From 22 down to 23 up. We've got multiple stoppages and the ball up and in the middle of the ground, and another ball up here.
It's about technique. It's just the next player comes in, he's just got to play the same role.
Stanley pushes it out wide. Mitchell threw his arms back, no free kick. Head over the ball. Duncan grabs it, tackled. You have a go at trying to get a clearance here, Calvin. Moving the play on. There's a ball up on the southern wing. Collingwood by 23 late in the third.
De Goey goes without it. Still there. Over it now. Holmes extracts it, gives it straight to Crisp. Handballs to Hill. Hill's covered every blade of turf out there. He gave it to Maynard, who kicked into the player. It was a good smother. Free kick going the way of Maynard after the smother by Holmes. This might be sarcastic applause for the umpire after a few shockers in a similar end earlier in this term. So Maynard's got it. Defensive side of the outer southern side of the MCG. Kicks to the attacking side. No one can control it. It'll be a boundary throw in. So the Cats by 16 points at quarter time after Darcy Cameron injured his hamstring in that first term. Geelong by 1 point at half time. And then on the back of 6 in a row, Collingwood now leads by 23 points. In the shadows of three-quarter time, Stanley just pushes Darcy Cameron aside in that ruck contest. Holmes takes off. He takes on a few. Oh, he's got speed to burn. A couple of bounces. Handballs over to Stengel. Oh, he's caught in an absolute pickle. The kicks loose off the side of the boot. Goes to Quaynor, goes to Frampton. Josh Takos handballs over his head. Quaynor goes to ground. Holding free kick against Stengel. Play on advantage. Tom Mitchell's got it. Mitchell now bangs it, looking for Howe with a sit. Almost the mark. Extraordinary aerial skills by Jeremy Howe, but it's the Cats at ground level. Tui under the pump. Perceived pressure has to go backwards, and the Cats try to regroup to go forwards again.
Collingwood just squeeze on this. As soon as you go backwards, playing into Collingwood's hands.
Guthrie to Radicalea. Long kick to half-back. Turnover. Here's Murphy. A short kick back inboard to Adams. We touched on Murphy, thought he was going to miss 2 or 3 plays tonight with that ankle injury. They'll be hoping to get a few other quick recoveries with a few of the Pies banged up. Noble the last of them, off with fears of an ankle injury. Adams into the pocket, Ginnivan the target. Radicalea stands in front of him. And he's always going to win that matchup, but his height and size takes the intercept mark in the back pocket. Half-hour mark, third quarter. Collingwood by 23, having trailed in the first half by 22. Long kick to the wing. Henry tries to share it down with Darcy Cameron. Ball spits out to Parfitt. Handball to Atkins. He's set upon. Tackled. Ball comes out. Bruin goes in for Geelong. He's met by a heap of Pies. And a ball up on the wing. Tim Hodges on the boundary.
John Noble back from the rooms, Corbin. Just had one run around the boundary. That ankle on the right-hand side heavily strapped, but he looks good to come back on the ground.
Cats in possession across half-back. Mitch Duncan was pushed as he got the kick away. Quaynor in a tussle with Close. Coming in for some assistance is Hoskin Elliott back to Frampton, who's been good tonight. He kicked down the line. In front was Duncan. Tackled by McCreery, the tackling machine. He's letting Duncan know about it as well. The veteran just slowly gets up to his feet.
Isaac Quaynor is such a good footballer. Every little touch.
Ball up at half forward here for the Pies. And another stoppage. So some tired bodies out there. It's been played at high tempo, attacking footy. And we've got the last minute before three-quarter time. Here's a chance for the Cats. Atkins straight to Frampton. Oh, quick hands. It was stolen by Close. Now a chance. Atkins. A fumble by Myers. Has to go back in and win it. Was it a push in the back? The umpire says nope. It'll be a ball up right in front of the Cats bench.
You can't
Good
fumble.
Call. Good call, Cal.
Yep.
Yeah. What, you fumble, that's it. You're dead in the water against Collingwood.
Pies by 23. Darcy Cameron wins it down. Parfitt for Geelong. Hand pass to Bruin. Kicks to centre half forward. Murphy over the top, spoils it away. Adams onto the footy in the middle of the G. Hand pass to Dacos. Kicks to centre half forward. Ginnivan takes the mark. Plays on. Outside of the right boot. Needs a kind bounce. And Radicalea is back to knock it through for a rush behind. If Ginnivan kicks one at some stage tonight, I think the windows will fall out of the upper deck of the Shane Warne stand. This place is rumbling every single time he gets near it. Pies by 24.
He electrified them too when he came on as the sub.
Yeah.
He hasn't quite got that goal that you're talking about, Corbs, but he got them going.
Well, it's his first game since round 12. And he was activated early to sub Jack Ginnivan, because Darcy Moore has strained a hamstring and he's off. Noble's hobbled off with an ankle injury, and De Goey's battling through a nasty corky. But Collingwood, well, it hasn't been the Pies of the last couple of weeks. It's been the Pies that have been the premiership favourites. Down by 22. They've got themselves in front by 24 points at three-quarter time. 13-11-89. Geelong 10-5-65. For the Pies, it's my check with 3, 2 each to Howe, Elliott, McStay. And the Cats, Jeremy Cameron has 5 and 2 for Ollie Henry.
Collingwood by a game high 24 at three-quarter time on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital, and now streaming through the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
Hey, it's Declan and Lavender from Sport and Spice, where the chat is well seasoned.
Spicy even. Every week we keep you in the loop with the juiciest and most important and sometimes most ridiculous sports stories around.
We also chat to plenty of amazing athletes along the way.
I actually got kicked out of school last year.
But down here it is a real fight with rugby league and AFL.
I mean, I'm a bit worried. I don't want to cop it too much. And I think if you're not a part of it, you should have FOMO.
Sport and Spice. Find it on the ABC Listen app or in the podcast store under the Best of ABC Sport.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Howe butters up. Hand pass to Lipinski. To Hill. Kicks for Ginnivan. He marks and moves it on. 2 Pies in the goal square. McStay marks. Pops it through. And Collingwood are putting on a show. Darcy Cameron wins it down. Pies squares a kick forward. Lightning speed. Bobby Hill. He's Bobby Thrill. Kicks it on the run from 50 out. Collingwood by 22. 44-point swing in the game. They are a fire that can't be put out at the moment. 7 in a row for Collingwood. Dabs the pass into the pocket, wants Cameron. Oh, the boundary umpires on the spot. It looked out on the full.
That's about 3 metres out on the full.
Absolutely.
Well, that's not a good decision.
It's not the Wayne Harms pocket at the other end of the ground, but it was a long way out. Jeremy Cameron to make it sting just a little more. Turns to the fans in the front row.
Gives it to them, Corby. Absolutely gives it to them.
That's 5 for Jazz.
He launches to the top of the goal square where it was all Geelong. It slipped through the hands at the back. McCreary! Bo McCreary just rubbing it in the face of those Cat fans that had just come alive.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds there from the third quarter. It's been Collingwood's show tonight. They found themselves 22 down late in the opening term. They lost their captain, Darcy Moore, to a hamstring injury. And yet from that point on, they've played some exhilarating football. They lead by a game high 24 at three-quarter time. Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse.
So incredibly impressive from Collingwood. I know that's stating the obvious, Mick, but the way they've done it, the way, considering they are Darcy Moore down, their star captain, centre-half back, and then De Goey's been sore and hampered by that glute, whatever it might be, probably a corky. But the number of play and the way they play means that anyone who's prepared to play that same way and run hard can step into that role. And they have just sliced through Geelong completely.
Well, Ginnivan's another one. Like you say, he hasn't played for a number of weeks. He's jumped in. I know he resurrected in the the second quarter down this in the back end on the half back line, ran the football up. They run the ball so well that was always going to be Geelong's biggest case tonight. Was 1, the spread from the middle.
Yep.
2, could they stop the Collingwood run, which was going to come through that corridor? Like if one player gets it, they just all go.
And can I say how Collingwood get that and get the ball? So in that quarter, Mick, clearances, Geelong are +4.
Yep.
However, contested possession for that quarter. Collingwood are +7. Now, clearance basically counts as a contested possession.
Yes, it does.
Every single time. So it means that Collingwood are 7 + 4 +11 in that almost that secondary contested ball, which is the ball clears an initial clearance by maybe 10 or 15 metres.
Yep.
And then the next ground ball is Collingwood just swarming on top of it, cleaning it up, and they're launching from there. So that shows how good the work rate is of Collingwood to get to that next one to outnumber and win the ball.
Yeah, the other thing that's really striking is that what you just said was when they've got the football and they've been able to get the football like that, they have multiple targets.
Yes.
And more than just, for the people that aren't watching this game and they listen to us, it's not so much multiple targets that you look up and there's a target one-on-one. They are finding pairs of players who are unmanned. Like it was McStay and Mychek in the goal square that could have raffled it. McStay picked it up and kicked the goal. They were on this wing in front of us. We see multiple players where Collingwood, when they decide to transfer the football, they transfer it, and then they don't wait. I've just seen other side just wait and see something happens. No, they just go for it, and they then break the back line up of the opposition, controlled by Stewart. He's their captain down there. He doesn't know how to pick up A, B, C or D, and Collingwood just pick them apart.
And they trust anyone to get involved, which is what you're saying. And this isn't a shot at the individual, it's simply fact. Collingwood kicked 6 goals, 3 in that quarter, 9 shots at goal. Brody Mychek does not touch the football.
Yeah.
Their best key forward.
Yeah, he kicked 3 up to that stage.
Yeah, does not touch the footy in that quarter, which goes to show anyone in that Collingwood forward line, anyone in that Collingwood team can get on the end of it.
Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse, Tim Hodges on the boundary.
John Noble couldn't walk, had to be helped down the stairs down to the rooms before, but he's starting on the ground in the final term. And just an interesting one on Darcy Moore. He's been over 2 and a bit quarters now out of this game. He hasn't had ice applied to that hamstring, so I'm not sure if that's a good sign for Collingwood or not.
Thanks, Hodgie.
I don't know either, Tim. We're not doctors.
As Stanley in the middle of the ground is going to receive a free kick for a ruck infringement, kicks to the top of the goal square. Murphy kills it, puts his fist through it, sits up now for Dacos, got it out off the deck. A fumble from Quaynor, now becomes tackler on O'Connor, and a ball up 40 out from the Geelong goal. Is that unusual though for a hamstring injury for it not to be iced?
No, you normally do ice it.
Yeah, I don't know what the current protocols are. It sometimes changes with that sort of stuff.
Collingwood by 4 goals. Darcy Cameron wins the hit out. Lipinski trying to soccer it away. Picked up though by Tom Stewart. Came through like a wrecking ball. Shot goalward, missed everything. Out on the full.
Given it was high, I mean, it's half lingy, I guess. I don't know. You would have done a few hamstrings, but is that the bad news that it was high and there's no ice on it, maybe? I'm not sure.
The worry is it being high, yes.
Yeah.
Then you could bring the tendon into play, but
correct.
Not sure.
Okay. Connor for the Cats. Sends it deep. Dangerfield plucks it. Wheels around and goals. The captain believes, and he's trying to get his team and his fans to believe. And it's back to an 18-point margin with the much-needed first goal of the final term to the reigning premier. 11-5, 71 Geelong. Collingwood 13-11, 89.
This will be interesting to watch, Mick. So if it was Collingwood who were down by 24 points at three-quarter time, there would be this, watch out, here comes Collingwood, they'll run over the top, and a goal early like that would have had a lot up and about. Come on, we can do this. Do Geelong believe they can do it from here? A goal that gets it back to 18 points super early in the last quarter. I'm not sure if that same level of belief is there like it would be if it was in the Collingwood camp.
Well, it's just a mad rush by Collingwood. They just keep rushing the ball until you get wound up in it and you end up being panicky. Geelong just don't play that way. They're bouncing the ball well. Bounce the ball as well as Geelong's backline's play.
Crooked one in the middle. 8-point lead as the umpire for the Pies as the umpire chucks it up the second time. Atkins with speed, hand pass out to Dangerfield. Here we go, forward again the Cats, hands to it from Henry, no mark, hits the deck, Noble passing through, knocks it away but close, hands it out off the deck to Cameron, shoots goalward, misses.
How could he miss that?
Would have been number 6.
He's kicked some much harder ones tonight, Cameron, for the 5 that he's put through. Behind there,
I wonder if they would have started believing if he'd kicked that one.
Yeah. Dangerfield burning Pendlebury in the centre.
Collingwood by 17, 3 gone in the last.
Okay, so the Pies through Maynard, long to the northern wing where Ginnivan's got it. He's tackled to the turf by Zach Guthrie. Ginnivan in the long sleeves, black socks pulled down and the blue boots and the headband. But the blonde locks are no longer. Darcy Cameron ripped out of his hand by Atkins. Here go the Cats again. Out in front and well done by Neil. Had to really get on his bike in front of Murphy and takes a mark at half forward. Pokes it into the pocket. Who's there? Close is. I think he might have been looking for Jeremy Cameron and Brad Close closed in front. Little handball off to Cameron. Oh, Jeremy Cameron, forget the out of bounds. Once he's done it, twice he's kicked it from out of bounds. And is it going to pay?
That can't stand.
That is going to stand.
Well,
he's kicked 2 from out of bounds.
Well, they can't review that part of the game.
They can't review that. They can only review if it's touched or misses the post.
So it's a goal. The goal stands. Jeremy Cameron has 6, and they're back to within 11 points.
Well, I reckon you find that the boundary umpires
that is unacceptable.
He has received a hand pass out of play.
Yep.
So he's out of bounds in the forward pocket, looking for a wraparound handball.
From
the play close is given it.
What is the replay of this? How far out he is? This is unacceptable.
So when he plays on the handball, the plays
he gets it on the synthetic turf. He gets it 2 metres out.
Oh, that's
and
terrible.
It's paid.
Well, see, that's the central umpire's role.
Drama,
that's
controversy.
That's not boundary umpire.
And a cliffhanger. 11 points. The Pies lead and danger bursting out of the centre again.
He kicks to half forward. Jeremy Cameron's got it again. Takes a sprawling mark at right half forward. What a dramatic night already. And we got a whole nother chapter to write here. 4.5 minutes into the final term. Geelong closing. Cameron took a mark which was out of bounds, received a handball which was out of bounds, kicked goals off both of them.
Well, he's got a ticket from he paid $25 for the front ticket. And he's used it.
When they say you've used every corner of the MCG, he has tonight. And some that are outside the playing arena. Jeremy Cameron for number 7. He misfires, kicks it out to the left and behind. But all of a sudden, it's a 10-point game. A match which looked in Collingwood's keeping. The Pies by 10, 5.5 gone final term. Momentum with the Cats.
2 absolute howlers from the umpire. And twice Jeremy Cameron has kicked goals from outside the boundary. The kick-in's been picked off by the Pies. High ball, Cameron rises, bounces off his chest to Close. Gives it back to Cameron. He's got a trap at Pendlebury. Closes, steals it off him to Dacos. Josh. Happy to see it over. Doesn't really try to make an effort there.
Is that out, Kel?
Yes, that is out.
They're still playing on, aren't they?
No, we are nearly in the front row there, Mick, and they have called that out of bounds on the full. Collingwood by 10. You would not believe it. Spinning ball back into play. Shove in the back from Neil on Darcy Cameron. Now a loose ball. Lipinski swoops, kicks straight to Radagalia. Oh, he's taken high. He's copped one across the face. He looked like he was going to take a double grabber, and when he was going to grab it the second time, he's been hit across the face. So a free kick to Asava, who's been solid tonight. He's got it on the northern wing, and he's going to kick backwards all the way to Zach Tui at centre half back.
Tui swings it out to the southern side, finds Duncan. Defensive side of the wing, short kick to Tanner Bruin.
Well, they're playing with fire here.
Chips it to Izzy Smith, still at centre half back. Short kick to DeConning. Defensive side of the logo. Long ball to half forward. Hands on it from Radagalia. Gets a free kick at his arms chopped. Lays a hand pass off to Stengel. Stengel into the forward pocket for Jeremy Cameron. Leaves a couple of Pies in his wake. And he's got it against the fence. This time inside the field of play. He'll kick from about 45 out. Right half forward.
Well, it's a complete change in there's lack of intensity by the Pies. They have to bring that back, otherwise can't let good sides get away with it.
He squeezes the footy together. As has become customary. Jeremy Cameron got it a little skinny. Misses near side of behind for Cameron. He's kicked 6 so far tonight. 6 goals, 4 for Jeremy Cameron. Collingwood's lead cut to 9 points. 7.5 gone final quarter.
Pies went one way, and now they're going round the other. This is the southern side through Noble, and he kicks and finds the chest of Hoskin Elliott.
Geelong have locked that right out, which is first time for the game where they've been able to stop those short kicks.
Short to Noble, and then squeezes the kick to Pendlebury. Across half-back, he's got it.
Trying to force Collingwood to come through the corridor and take risks.
Not a lot of movement up ahead. Pendlebury runs around the player on the mark and then delivers long. Plenty of cats in that pack to Tom Mitchell from a standing start. He kicks. Tui's there to mop up, gets it on the bounce. Oh, this is a risky kick. He was trying to find Izzy Smith. And Smith marks it with Jamie Elliott bearing down. Still in the defensive 50. Oh, that's been chopped off this time by Dacos. Josh Dacos is going to hit up Ginnivan. Ginnivan could play on. Instead, he's got a teammate in the square. Myercheck adds the exclamation mark. Kicks it up into the third tier at the punt road end. And Brodie Myercheck's got 4. And a bit of breathing space for these Pies that are under siege. The margin is 15 points. Well done, Josh Dacos.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know when he's got the ball in his hand, he's not going to waste it. No. And he looks forward and just sees Ginnivan by himself. He could have picked one of two.
And he just never stops staying involved in the game, does he,
no.
Dacos? His eyes were watching Smith, and then it just forced Isaac Smith to be really tentative with his kick.
Yeah, but there's no need for Geelong to go back that deep. Collingwood just sweat on that. It's not a good kick. One thing about letting Collingwood play their game is make them play it in front of you, not behind you.
A few nervy moments for Collingwood to start this final term, and just a settler there from Brodie Myercheck. Collingwood by 15. Back in the middle, Darcy Cameron wins the hit out. O'Connor though for Geelong at the coalface. Hand pass to Dangerfield, out to Bruin. He's worried out of it. Mitchell wins it for Collingwood. The jinking run from Dacos. Kicks from one side of the centre square to the other. Markov marks, puts it inside 50. Oh, Elliott let it pass through. It's picked off by Kolajasny at centre half back. His hand pass is shocker. Invites Collingwood back in. Pendlebury to McCreary, short kick, and Elliott this time. He let it pass through on the first occasion, thought there was a magpie behind him, not to be. They reload Lingy, and now Elliott will shoot from 35 out just right of centre.
Well, Collingwood gave Geelong half a chance to get through, but if you're going to make a complete mess of it and give Collingwood a second go at getting it inside 50, they're not going to miss again.
And don't make the mistakes in the back 50. I'd rather you kick the ball to the boundary and let the umpire make a decision.
This to give him 3+ goals in 6 of the last 7 weeks. Jamie Elliott. That is not a good finish. And in the end, Myercheck trying to hug it in from the behind post, rips it through for a 1 behind. Poor finish. Collingwood by 16 points, 11 gone final quarter.
Talk down the middle, do you think, by Jack Tui?
Yeah, I think unless something opens up for him obvious, this is going to be a talk.
The Irishman pierces it. Oh, no. He's given it to Radaglia, who dropped it cold. It was a little bit too hot for him. Adams to Tom Mitchell, curls the kick to McCreary, spins around and buries it. And he might have just buried the Cats. He should have gone to Torp, Zach Tui. He should have listened to Cameron Ling and Mick Moldhouse. Instead, he tried to hit up Asava, who dropped it cold. And McCreary gets his second. And the lead is out by 22 points now at the MCG.
Well, I won't lay the blame on Zach Tui on that one.
Oh, he should have taken the mark. It was like Iron Gloves. It's like Rod Marsh when he first started keeping. That was his nickname, Iron Glove.
Yeah.
Well, that's as good as you'll get.
No, that is just another mistake. An Isaac Smith mistake first, capitalised upon, and then a Sava Radaglia mistake there, and the Pies take their chances. They've settled. Bo McCreary, such an important player for this Collingwood team.
Yeah, too right he is.
Huge pressure player, huge work rate.
And gets a reward.
Yeah. Jeremy Cameron kicked 6 earlier this year in a losing cause against Carlton. He's got 6 tonight. And Collingwood lead the game by 22. They've kicked the last 2 now after a mini run from the Cats. Back in the middle, Dangerfield. Hand pass out to the wing. Tui in the long sleeves trying to trap it. Umpire says ball up. Do it all again in the centre square.
I think that's 6 goals he's kicked in the last 2 shots he's had, both missed, haven't they, I think?
Chucks it up, both rucks miss it. O'Connor trying to squeeze a kick out, gives it straight to Pendlebury. His kick out to space and that southern wing. Unkind bounce for Hoskin Elliott. G2, took a while, got rid of it eventually. Guthrie, hot hand pass for Atkins, can't trap it. Mitchell puts his body on the line. Had the footy, lost it. Now Pendlebury, bottom of the pack. Says, I'll have it. And a ball up on the southern wing underneath the Shane Warne stand. It is Collingwood by 22. 13 gone, final quarter.
You're right, Mick. He's kicked 6 goals for Jeremy Cameron and he's missed his last 2. Flicked up, Stanley to Atkins, to Stanley, to Holmes. Missed the target in Parfitt. Comes out stolen by De Goey. Off to Tom Mitchell, standing stark, kicks around his body. Beats Tui. This is dangerous. Charging in was Hoskin Elliott. Spills out to Adams, who curls it, keeps it low. Bouncing ball right across the face. Through for a minor score. Collingwood by 23 points. It was the Cats by 22 earlier in the game. Darcy Moore has done his hamstring. De Goey's got a corky. Noble's got an ankle. The Pies kicked 7 in a row, and then there were 2 howlers from the boundary umpire that gifted Jeremy Cameron 2 goals. And they got within 9 points. But now it's the Pies by 23 in the final quarter.
So in short, you haven't missed much if you weren't with us all night. So a heap to talk about, threads in any direction in which you look. And a bumper crowd at the MCG on a very pleasant August evening. Geelong with the footy at half back as Bowes sends it to the wing. Atkins marks. Pies by 23. And Geelong got another gear. Kick from Atkins down to half forward. Stanley spills the mark, but spills to Close. Close kicks it deep inside 50. Henry the target. Tries to shield the drop. Wins it on the bounce. Gets it away to Parfitt. Parfitt. Untidy kick. Snaps goal. Missed the whole set. Out on the full.
Well, he just didn't know what to do. He didn't know whether to have a shot, square it up. Net result is that he misses, 18 metres.
Barkov can bring it back into play for Collingwood. Tim Hodges on the boundary.
I'm not sure whether Braden Maynard has got a corky or cramping, but very sore here on the members' wing.
And it's Hodgie, ball back out of play between wing and half forward for Geelong. So Collingwood by 23, halfway through this final term.
And it's really the leadership in Patrick Dangerfield. He's had the 5 disposals so far this last quarter. He is trying to will his team back into this contest. De Goey standing alongside him right now at this stoppage. Nice little palm from Darcy Cameron. Gave it straight, though, to the Cats, and the hurried kick goes over the head of Ollie Henry. And Murphy.
He's a good player, Murphy.
Very good player. Takes the defensive mark. Kicks from one pocket to the other to Frampton.
And he's settled in pretty well too, Frampton. Good choice to bring back into the side.
Much maligned player in Adelaide, wasn't he, Mick?
Well, he's a good player, can play at both ends, and I think that's why Collingwood got him, was just that versatility. He's rucked for him, he's been in the back line, he's been in the forward line.
Short to Maynard. Maynard goes long to the contest, looking for the ruck. It clears their hands. Waiting at the back is Bobby Hill. Hill to Howe. Howe still inside the centre square, but he can flick it wide to McCreery, who's got 2 and kick the last one. Does he get a kind bounce in the pocket? He gets around Holmes, unselfishly goes to the edge of the goal square where Myercheck was unchecked. And Myercheck lining up for goal number 5.
Just work rate again by the Pies, just outwork Geelong.
Yeah, well, I counted 5 Collingwood players then when that ball was kicked to 3.
Maynard sore, he's limping off, and Noble, who's sore, is limping back on. Meanwhile, Myercheck for a handful to make it a 29-point lead. Squeezes it in at the punt road end. And they might have just slapped the door in the Cats' face once and for all. Collingwood by 29, although there's still just a tick under 10 minutes to play in this one. 16-13, 109. Geelong 12-8, 80. Tim Hodges, you've been all over these injuries tonight. We've had Darcy Moore injure his hamstring. De Goey's battled through a corky. Noble's battling through an ankle. And is Maynard injured down there as well?
It looks like a corky, Kel. The physio wanted to grab him and do some work on him. Said, I don't want to stop. I want to keep walking around the boundary. As soon as he stops, I think he's worried that it's going to just seize up. But he is with the physio now, having that right thigh worked on. So, yeah, he's in a bit of discomfort, but hopefully he's okay. Just added to the woes. You called it well. He came off sore and Noble went on sore.
It's been that kind of night for the Pies, and in between they've played some scintillating football. The best team in the competition on top of the tree, and tonight's win might just lock up that minor premiership. As Dacos here is not, his possession's not going to count as a free kick for Stewart. Taken high in that tackle, so Geelong will get it back edge of the centre square. Collingwood by 29, a game high. Stewart long kick out wide for Atkins, who marks on the wing. 18 gone, final term. Looks for Jeremy Cameron, hands to it. Ripped down over the shoulder by Frampton. Free kick for Cameron.
That one is there.
Yeah.
I know the crowd wants to get into it, but that's a free kick. Love the reactions of the crowd.
The famous number 5, won by Polly Farmer, of course, and Ablett Senior. Travis Varco.
2 premierships.
One for your footy grid too, played for both these teams. Here's Jeremy Cameron. Left-footed drop punt, goes across the goal face, and it's whacked through for a rush behind. And it's a 30-point lead. In fact, it's a 28-point lead on the back of that behind. That's what happens when Geelong score the one off the margin from the team that's winning, not the other way. Collingwood by 28, 19 gone, final term.
Kicking goes to Josh Dacos, continues to rack up the disposals, and it's putting in a good case for best on ground this evening with his younger brother Nick injured in the stands. Cats turn it over though through Duncan. Guthrie's got it in the centre of the ground. Oh, blazes away with that kick. No one was home for Geelong. And Murphy, he's handballed over the top of Noble, a little sloppy. He's got plenty of time to chase after the Sherrin. Gather, little sidestep. Turns Ollie Henry inside out, kicks down the line. Here's Markoff's given it straight to De Koning. Gathers the kick, a little low. Looped up handball to Dangerfield, and he hits up Ollie Henry in that left forward pocket. Henry played for them last year.
He's their favourite player, isn't he?
Now he's in the opposition camp, and he's kicking goals. He's kicking 3, and he's keeping them in touch. 22 points, 7.5 minutes to play. 16-13, 109 Collingwood. Geelong, they keep coming, 13-9, 87.
Well, this is a complete turnaround in the middle of the ground. I can't see Collingwood giving up the victory.
No.
Regardless.
No, but you see the elements when you can get, when you win the ball and you use it well. Now, that's stating the obvious. You can get Collingwood out the back.
Yeah, you can.
But the ability to do that consistently for 120 minutes is so difficult. Because eventually they're going to turn one over and send it back the other way.
Well, that's how Melbourne, they've only lost 4 games. Melbourne did it. Carlton did it. Got him behind. Hawthorn got him in front of the ball.
Back in the middle. Quick kick forward here from the Cats through, in fact, through McStay for the Pies. Kicks to centre half forward. Geelong win it back. As Bruin, hand pass out to Atkins. He kicks wide, finds Smith.
I'm surprised, Lingy, how many players I've seen Geelong hand pass to blokes who are still running and got their back to play.
Yeah.
Smith thought about going corridor, comes out wide to Duncan, front on contact from Dacos. Free kick paid, advantage applied. Big sweeping hand pass all the way down to close. He's tackled by Quaynor.
What I find confusing is Geelong's willingness to over-handball, Mick, when you're playing a team who is elite at pressure and actually wants you to handball the ball.
Collingwood have got 37-9, Geelong 44-22.
Ball up half forward for the Cats. Dacos, though, wins it for Collingwood. Hand pass to Degoe. He kicks down the wing. Darcy Cameron tries to whack it on. Stewart breaks it up for the Cats. Gets a hand pass out to Tui. Handball to Bruin, to Bowes. Now loops a hand pass to Close. Swings it out wide for Smith. Geelong over halfway. Kicks to half forward, and Frampton takes the intercept mark. Halfback for Collingwood. Pies by 22 points. 22 gone, final term.
Josh Dacos has had it 32 times. Lipinski 23. Tom Mitchell 23. And for the Cats, Atkins leading the way with 28 disposals. Kick straight down the throat of Darcy Cameron. Dropped an absolute sitter, and now the Cats pounce through Bowes. Gets it to Close, and now to Stewart. Bombs it into the pocket. Where's Jezza? It doesn't matter. Neil's there.
He's a good, strong mark, this kid. He's going to be all right. He's quite quick for his size and mobile.
Gets himself in good position too. And even a couple of times tonight, their marks haven't stuck, but he's been
He's
had
where
hands
it
on
is, yeah. You'd like to see him get his break his duck.
Yep. He's got a duck. This is his third game of AFL footy. Can he squeeze this one home for his first? And he can't.
I'll tell you what, Kev, he wobbles the ball from side, from left to right, left to right. You got to kick the ball over your leg, you got to kick with.
Okay. Shannon Neal, a wobbler.
Yep.
Collingwood by 21.
Crisp.
5 minutes to play, Corby.
Crisp on the kick out, goes long up to the wing, off the pack, spills down to Mitchell. Hand pass to Adams. Cuts back inboard, looks for Elliott, forced to spoil the would-be mark for Duncan, but Duncan wins the footy. Hand pass away to Dangerfield for Geelong. Kicks inside 50. Henry the target. Murphy holds his position. Takes the intercept mark. And now the counter-attack from the Magpies. Kicks out to Lipinski, who marks defensive side of the wing. He's just keen to bleed some time out of the clock. Goes on a bit of a stroll and drills it onto the chest of Markov. Loops a hand pass over the man on the mark to Quaynor. Attacking side of the wing, kicks to Elliott in the one-on-one with Duncan. They both reach for it, no mark, spills down the Cats' way. And a hand pass from Atkins out to Bowes, kicks down the wing. Here's Myers, looks in the middle of the ground, and Neal, who had the shot moments ago, lays a hand pass off to the run of Izzy Smith. Kicks for his fellow southpaw, Cameron marks, turns, plays on. Cameron bounces it through. That's number 7. He's had a night out, Jeremy Cameron, in what may not amount to a victory, but he has put his talents on show for all of us again tonight. 25 gone, final term, 7 goals, 4 for Jeremy Cameron. Cats trail by 15 with 4 and a bit to play.
He's just such a superb athlete. That's why he's such a hard matchup when he's playing well, because he's a threat in the air, he's excellent overhead, but he can go from being a tall, looking to take a pack mark, contested mark, into someone who can move almost like a small. The way he glides across the ground, massive engine, remarkable athlete.
I'm still confused why Murphy hasn't played on him though. Now Maynard's back on him. I just don't get. I just can't come to grips with that. I'm sorry.
Official attendance 78,749 for Friday night footy.
And the Cats need 3 goals in 5 minutes. Critical bounce in the centre. De Bruin wins it, sends it inside 50. It's a bouncing ball. Ricochets around. Eventually Dangerfield goes without it. Pendlebury's there. Oh, look at that, the smooth mover. Fake one way, went the other, delivered to Mychek on the chest right in front of the Pies bench. That is leadership and class. Dangerfield charged through. He went without it. And Pendlebury just collected. Delivered to Mychek, who delivers down the line, and De Koning with the spoil. Knuckles it over the boundary. It'll be a boundary throw in at half forward for the Pies. Lead by 15 points, 3.5 minutes to play. Cats by 16 at quarter time. By 1 at half time, it was Collingwood by 24 at 3/4 time. Darcy Moore injured his hamstring in the first quarter and has been on the bench ever since. Neal in the ruck, straight down the throat of Atkins towards Cameron, over his head. He's booted 7, Jeremy. Nathan Murphy swoops to Frampton. Sideways kick, spotted Pendlebury. A couple of critical possessions late here for Scotty Pendlebury, the former captain, and he gives it safely to Josh Dacos.
Just had contributors everywhere from Collingwood, and when you look around at Geelong, just too few. Dangerfield and Atkins through the middle have been good. Obviously Jeremy Cameron up forward, but not a lot of others, whereas Collingwood, every single player just knowing exactly what they need to do.
Dacos kicks backwards and then gets it back and then delivers down the line where Darcy Cameron marks strong in front of the pack. McStay, rather.
Well, that kick was... that he marked that because of the kick. He pulled the kick back so the player, McStay, could run onto it. Just magnificent play, that kick.
And they're just going to milk the clock here, kicking backwards. Dacos getting involved again. He's up to possession, number 35. Scotty Pendlebury getting involved. Taylor Adams, vice captain. Just a tick over 2 minutes left. They've got it right in front of the Pies bench. There's no urgency to go forward. Now they pull the trigger. Slip through the hands of a couple of Cats defenders. Darcy Cameron with the tackle. McStay's there as well. And it'll be a ball up in the left forward pocket at the city end. With Collingwood in control, A lead of 15 points, a tick under 2 minutes to play.
Just on Jeremy Cameron, so 7 goals. It's the 9th time in his career he's kicked 7, which you think that's amazing given sort of the genuine bag is really a dying art in modern footy.
Yeah, it is.
Got another ball up here. So this is game 229 and the 9th time he's kicked 7 or more in a match. He's up to 53 for the year.
Are they all for Geelong or did he get a few for GWS?
He got a few for the Giants. From the stoppage here, the Pies win it. So Dacos hands it to Elliott, kicks to the top of the goal square, and Tui just takes the mark. Back pocket for the Cats.
We love a Sir Swamp Thing stat. Jeremy Cameron, 50-plus goals in a season by players who debuted in the 18-team era. Jeremy Cameron's done it 6 times.
Wow. That's the most?
The most.
Yep.
Next best is Ben Brown, Charlie Cameron, with 3 times.
Atkins to Dangerfield. Looks inside on the 45, finds Stengel, swings his kick across the ground to Guthrie. Hand pass away to Duncan, kicks to high half forward, finds Izzy Smith. He kicks into the pocket. Now Cameron's all alone. Frampton getting back to cover off. Cameron can't complete the mark on the behind line. It's whacked through.
If he did.
He gets up here just holding his shoulder. I hope he's okay. He's had a hell of a night. He's kicked 7 goals, 4. It's a behind for Geelong. Collingwood by 14 points. Half-hour mark, final term.
The kick to him was bad. That's a poor kick.
He didn't help himself by running backwards, though. He should have cut around to the corridor.
So after back-to-back losses that came out of nowhere for Craig McRae's men, losing by 32 points to the Hawks and 17 points to their arch rivals Carlton, the black and white army's going to be in full voice and cheer them all the way home here, Collingwood. They're missing Nick Dacos. He's out with a fracture in his knee. He'll miss the rest of the home and away season. Darcy Moore off with a hamstring, subbed out with a hamstring injury. You'd suspect he'd miss the rest of the home and away season. And it's going to be a famous win here over the reigning premier as the seconds tick down. Bruin down the line to Stengel. Strong mark in front of Chris. Fakes one way, goes the other. Takes off. He's running towards the city end and he's delivering, looking for Henry. Couldn't quite take the mark. Ravaged by injury, but the sublime skills and speed kills the older, slower Cats. And Collingwood just about will secure the minor premiership. The fireworks go off at the top of the giant screen. A free's been paid late here. And guess who's got it? The nemesis, Ollie Henry, directly in front. Too little, too late. It goes through for a major.
No, missed it. Didn't he?
Well, the umpire signalled a goal.
Bad. Sorry, Cal.
Okay.
I apologise.
And it's just a matter of by how much. In the end, Collingwood prevailed by 8 points. They are back, baby, and they will stay on top. Final score, Collingwood 16-13, 109. Geelong 15-11, 101 in front of a heaving crowd at the MCG of 78,749. It was the Cats by 16 at quarter time, by 1 at half time. 6 goals in the third to Collingwood saw them lead by 24 points in the final term, and in the end they prevailed by 8 points. 7 goals to Jeremy Cameron, 5 to Brodie Myercheck. It's a game that's going to be talked about for many days. The fallout will be significant. It was high tempo, high drama, and plenty of controversy. The Cats jumped out to a 22-point lead And then Darcy Moore appeared to strain his hamstring. De Goey's got a corky, Maynard's got a corky, Noble's injured his ankle. And then there were two absolute howlers by the boundary umpires that gifted Jeremy Cameron 2 goals. So he finished with 7 and gave them life late. Those 2 decisions will be talked about, you'd think, for quite a few days, Corbin, because it was absolutely extraordinary. He kicked them from about 2 metres out both times.
I apologise about jumping in before about the Ollie Henry shot for goal there, Cal. You called it perfectly. It was a goal. I swore when it was a point.
I've just watched the replay. So David Roden, the goal umpire, actually slaps his chest to signal it behind. You know how they usually say, all clear, mine. And then has a sort of cheeky grin on his face and walks up and signals full points. So he says that's a goal, and yet he sort of called it as a behind when it went through initially, which I've never seen anything quite like that.
Live ladder stays exactly as it is. Collingwood 68 points now on top, number 1. Geelong still 9th on 42 points with the Swans, the Crows, Essendon and Richmond all nipping at their heels.
So that's the minor premiership wrapped up for the Pies.
As good as. So they play Brisbane on the run home. If say Brisbane won their remaining games, Collingwood lost their remaining games, they made up the percentage gap.
Yes.
All these things have to fall in place, and obviously Collingwood
got Brisbane next week at Marvel Stadium Friday night, and then Essendon at the MCG. 2 more Friday night games to come for the Pies.
Well, the Cats are interesting because they play the Saints.
Yes.
With Rowan out.
Yep.
They had 5 goal kickers, of which Cameron kicked 7. Ollie Henry kicked 4. And they had 3 that kicked 1. Guthrie is a half back. Close had 1. And Dangerfield from the middle kicked 1. So their goals are drying up. Their mids...
They're only
they have to win both games. They have to win both games to make it.
Yep.
The only good mids tonight were Atkins and Dangerfield. They were both
Dangerfield had his moments. Yep. He was very good in this quarter and good patchy. The outside of that, they got swamped.
So next week, St Kilda, Saturday night at Docklands.
Yeah.
And then the Dogs in Geelong on that Saturday night. And the Dogs will be fighting possibly for a spot in the finals, if not for a home final.
I've got that game Sunday.
Yeah.
I've picked Hawthorn on the back of Hawthorn rarely get beaten down there.
Correct.
And the way they played against Collingwood.
Yep.
We also did the Dogs match the night before, didn't we? Yes. Last week. So we thought they were quite impressive. But I can see that the Dogs, I don't know whether they play that well down there.
No. And 2 years ago, similar scenario, Dogs playing for a spot in the top 4. They've never finished top 4 under Luke Beveridge.
Right.
And the Hawks got them by about 29 points.
Yes.
And it meant they slipped to 5th.
When you say about, Cal, when you say, if you said about 30, I'd say that. But 29, you know it's 29.
I do.
about 29
points.
we touched on the amount of amazing stuff that happened tonight. The 7-goal haul for Jeremy Cameron, obviously in a losing cause. We had a couple of interesting boundary umpiring decisions and field umpire involved. Jeremy Cameron took a mark which was clearly out of play, boundary umpire on the spot. He also received a hand pass and kicked a goal from out of bounds, and the ump sort of let all of that roll. The injury toll across the park. So Darcy Moore with the hammy. Noble had an ankle, came back, continued. De Goey was clearly banged up, had a corky, came back, continued, and a slight corky for Maynard late in the piece. Gary Rowan with a hip/adductor injury, so out of the game for Geelong. Collingwood come from 22 down to play some of their best footy without Darcy Moore and obviously without Nick Dacos, finish over the top and win in the end by 8 points. They did have it out as wide as 29 points at one stage in that final term. Well, I guess where I'm leading is when you leave tonight, given all those things that happen, what will be your biggest takeaway? What will be the thing that leaves the biggest impression on you leaving here tonight?
How impressive Collingwood were through that patch where they took that 22-point margin down to, was it the 24-point up?
Yep.
That period of football minus Darcy Moore. And the 2 players, Sidebottom and Dacos, who weren't there coming into the game, but you have time to prepare for that sort of thing. So that's fine. You can, different elements. But when you lose your captain and your best defender, a superstar in Darcy Moore early in the game, and you're down and you're under the pump because Geelong are playing good football, and they're the reigning premiers, mind you, to then flip that completely without Darcy, that is super impressive. You walk away and go, oh, any of those little nagging doubts I might have had about whether or not the Pies were the very best team in the competition just got completely blown out the door by that football they played in that patch.
And also, just going by what I've said before about the bottom five. Now, if it was on statistics alone, then you're looking at Cameron, rucked okay, Mychek, 5 goals, Murphy, terrific job in the back line, Howe kicked 2 goals, 1, and was dangerous all the time. Ginnivan, I think he's 6. Whereas you look at Geelong, Colin Jazzy really struggled, I reckon.
Yep.
Radaglia, when the ball, like he dropped that one, he dropped his head, he dropped the mark, which cost him the goal. Neil's a young player coming up. Stanley, well, I say Stanley and Cameron probably drew him. So there wasn't a great deal of difference. But if I throw in players like Markov, who last year was in the wilderness, played very well. We've had Adams last week was poor, played tough, hard football, really, really good football. Lipinski is
he was brilliant.
Throw away from the Dogs. He was fantastic. So he's walking all right, isn't he, Darcy?
Oh, I love the leadership from Darcy Moore here, Mick. He's leading them in. He's got the big puffer vest on,
like he's leading the German band, doesn't he?
He's got the big smile on his face, and we can get down to Tim Hodges because Darcy Moore injured with a hamstring. You wouldn't know it, Hodgie. He's going to lead this team into the rooms.
Kel, you'll hear when they arrive. I think they sell tickets, Collingwood, to their rooms. It gets more and more people in here every single weekend. They're a happy bunch. I think there'd be 400 or 500 fans, family, partners, all in these rooms. Scott Pendlebury, the last of the Pies. He'll be the last to join the song. And then for a 17th time this year, there's great relief they get to sing it tonight. They go very silent, and here they go. So normally it's still Sidebottom, the court jester, who leads off the song. With his absence, his best mate Jeremy Howe did the honours. He did a cracking job as well. I'll have a player for you very shortly, guys.
Thanks, Hodgie. What a win for Collingwood tonight. So all but assured the minor premiership now for Collingwood, with games against Brisbane and Essendon to come. There's a chance they won't leave Friday night, depending on how deep they can make their run. If they finish on top, that'll come, you'd think, with Friday night footy and the qualifying final and the preliminary final thereafter if the Pies keep on winning. A loss for Geelong tonight. We're going to be pretty hard up against it here, so we'll get an interview from the Collingwood camp, the votes, and then get out of here through to 11 o'clock Eastern. But just a quick word on the Cats. So they could be 6 points out with 2 to play at the end of the weekend if other results go against them. There's a chance their premiership defence might not even make it through to September and the spring.
Be interesting to see when the last time the 2 grand finalists didn't make the finals the next year. Mind you, having said that, if Geelong don't, I think Sydney will. But I still think Geelong can, even though they are level at the moment. Sydney have got to win that game. I'm not too sure if Sydney play, actually.
Sydney play. That's a great point.
Is it Gold Coast?
Yes. Yep. Tomorrow afternoon.
Well, that'll be an interesting game because Gold Coast have got, got a new coach. Is he starting yet, or is he waiting until next year?
He hasn't signed anything.
Oh, of course not. No.
That was never a done deal, was it?
No.
So Geelong plays St Kilda at Docklands next week. Bulldogs at Kardinia Park, final round.
Well, I think it's going to go to the death.
They're 2 teams right in their neighbourhood, so they've got to take some wins off them and add them to their column, and that might be enough.
So if GWS win, that places them 2 games in front.
It's a huge game. So they play Port Adelaide last game of the weekend.
It's too much guesswork. You've got to focus in on what you've got in front of you. And the Cats at the moment, they fought it out. They fought the game out. They had something like 19-7 or something. I think we said inside
the
50 last quarter. But the game, I think Collingwood worked that hard for two and a half quarters that it's probably one of the first times I've seen them go, well, we've got this game, we can just sort of subconsciously just relax a bit, because their midfield stopped. Geelong, full credit to Dangerfield. I thought Dangerfield was outstanding in the last quarter. His clearance rate was just terrific. And it's the whole thing. Get the ball out of the centre, then you've got to fight to get it back out of your back one, or you fight to kick a goal. As it turned out, Geelong kicked 5 goals, 6, 11 shots to 5, 3 goals 2. So the Cats, they weren't disgraced, and they kept on having a go.
So Darcy Moore, Mick, has love the leadership. He just continues to impress. He's had the injury. Most clubs, he'd go in behind the rooms and wouldn't be seen for the rest of the night. He fronted up to Brian Taylor with the host broadcaster, Network 7, and did an interview saying nothing too serious, didn't feel anything super strong, made a pretty conservative call. Although that wouldn't really match the replay that we saw, where he really just grabbed straight away at that hamstring up high and pulled up short.
Full-time Collingwood win by 8 points. One man who you know reasonably well, Mick, is with Tim Hodges in the winners' rooms. Hodgie.
Corbin, awesome for Scott Pendlebury to come over and have a chat with us. Scott, what is the emotion? Is it just relief right now that you got the 4 points after the last fortnight?
No, not really. It was just another game for us tonight. I heard you play for Collingwood. You hear the external noise, and to me it was pretty funny. We lost 2 games in a row, and everyone's sort of like, book your September holidays, isn't finished. We just knew we got away from a few things that we really pride ourselves on, and they were really controllable for us. Get back to those, and the game will look a lot more like a Collingwood game. So it's a long season. There's ebb and flows, and we haven't probably had too many ebbs in our season. So battle through those 2 weeks, learn a lot, continue to grow, and then I thought tonight looked much more like a Collingwood game.
Even in the first quarter when things weren't going quite to plan, there were still no question marks for you?
No, just a matter of getting it going. After a couple of losses, you've got to try and get that game going. It wasn't going to happen straight away, but I thought our spirit, our connection, and then our pressure ultimately was what got us back in the ball game. And we're the best pressure side in the competition, and we need to be able to bring that. And I think we're over 2 in that first half, which is really high pressure.
Did you play more of a leadership role? I know you always do, but did you play more of a leadership role after quarter time when you saw Darcy Moore subbed out?
Oh, not really, to be honest. I feel like we all were trying to connect and pick up the slack for him. He's such an important player for us, behind the footy with his leadership and stuff like that. And then, everyone's got their role. So, my role through the midfield is obviously to get after the game, but also help organise and set us up through that midfield as well. So I thought Nathan Murphy, Braden Maynard, Isaac Claynor really stepped up when Darcy went down.
That's enough from me. Cameron Ling's upstairs, but I think Mick Malthouse is probably hanging to ask you a few questions. Fire away, Mick. I'm
going to jump in quickly before Mick gets to, because Mick's got about 10 coming your way, Pendles. Congratulations on the win. You've seen and done a lot in your 378-game career. Have you ever seen somebody receive a handball in about the 5th row of the stand and be able to kick a goal from there and it not be out of bounds?
It's funny. I think it happened a couple of times tonight, but that's just, So Rubber the Green went their way a couple of times, and I'm sure we had a couple of ones that went our way. So he's an incredible player, though. Like, sometimes when you're out on the field with Jeremy Cameron, you just sort of stand there and you just marvel at what he's doing, and then you remember that you've actually got to go out there and play against him. So he's a freak. He's a great talent. Love playing against him. He always seems to play well against us, which is annoying. So, it's probably the first time I played in a match where they kicked a couple of goals from out of bounds.
Beautifully answered. You're spot on. I love the game, and I mean, we shouldn't be surprised given the season he's having and how good he's been. But Josh Dacos, it just felt like... It felt like him and, amongst others, just wanted to stand up. Pat Lipinski probably throwing that as well, with a couple of key mids down in Steele and Nick Dacos. Did you sense that they were going to really pick up the slack with a couple of players out?
Lipper got a lot more opportunity tonight through the midfield, and one of the things we all know internally is that he can run. He can run for days. He's probably still fresh and ready to play tomorrow or something. He's a freak, Lipper, with his run, and I thought Josh really got us going with his ability when he won the footy to get us back into dangerous positions, whether it by foot or hand. He was exceptional. He's so clean on the ground and he's tough over the footy, but then to drive his legs and set up some play for us. I thought both those boys you mentioned were fantastic.
Scotty, well done. Congratulations on signing for the next 10 years. So
Thanks,
I reckon you got a chance to break that record.
Thank you.
I watched the game last week. Did the game for the ABC. The contrast was stark. Was there a switch? Was there a discussion? How come do we underestimate the ability of what Hawthorn did to you last week?
Probably a bit of both. Hawthorn played really well last week. We got back in the game at half time, but as I said before, there was just some ebb and flows with what we were doing in the game, and we wavered on a few things that we're usually really strong on. And our defence last week, when Hawthorn had the footy, we let them possess it way too easily. They just kicked through us the whole day, and we just couldn't stop it. And like always, that was really great feedback. Even though we lost, we'd use that feedback. And as you know, both you guys up there, that when you do something like that, we go to town on it all week. And I thought our defence was a lot better tonight. We didn't let Geelong just kick through us and take easy yards. We forced them into contest a bit quicker, and then the game looks a bit more chaotic, which suits us. Yeah,
just on a couple of blokes that have come into your team and just look, well, they've just fitted straight in. Daniel McStay.
Yeah, he's been super, especially his contest work, not only his mark, but his ability to bring the ball to ground for us, whether he's 1v2 or just gets a fingernail in. There's that really crucial bit of play on the outer wing where he got it back to ground and then pierced the ball back through the middle to Taylor Adams, I think, and we kick a goal from the goal square. And we turned what was essentially probably a contest loss for us into a contest win. And the other thing is he's a super athlete. He can run all day. He's super strong. So he's really surprised us, and it's great to have him in the side and playing such an important part for us.
And I know you're not a selector, and I know you're going to be diplomatic here, but does his performances now sort of keep Cox and Johnson out of the side? Is that because that forward line function today, Myercheck was fantastic. I know he hasn't kicked goals of recent date, but he's always so dangerous, and he got reward tonight. He kicked 5 goals. You got Howe on the forward line now. Does the forward line now looks a lot different to me than having Johnson and or Cox in the side?
Yeah, it's probably those two boys with Dan's ability to play second ruck as well. I think Checkers and Dan have sort of locked away those two key position spots, and as you said, we've got some guys there as well with Coxie and Ash that will play tomorrow and that have been playing really well at VFL level. But I think after you see the synergy that our forwards are starting to build, and they do a lot of work as a group of not only just the AFL guys, the VFL guys as well. But I think Dan and Checkers look like they've locked those spots away, and they're playing some really good footy together, and they're getting used to playing with each other, which is really important.
Yeah, but just well done, and all the very best for the next few weeks.
Thanks, Nick.
Scott, just before you depart, just on quarter time, so when Darcy Moore walks out, and he's obviously clearly done his hamstring, what's the mood like, I guess, around the group in that particular moment, knowing that it looks like a very unfortunate injury for Collingwood? How does that sort of permeate around the group?
And this is brutal of footy, but you sort of don't really worry about it because we got a job to do. And to Darcy's credit, he come out and he was really vocal, like, well done, and all the key points we wanted to get done. He was talking to guys, we're getting this done, let's tighten up in this area. And you wouldn't have known that he was deflated or anything because he was up. He was giving energy to everyone else. And then our job, as I said, as brutal as it sounds, we move on straight away and let's how can we win this game of football. And then obviously afterwards you check in and make sure he's all right. And he seems up and about, and I can actually see him now yakking to someone. So he seems all right and pretty happy.
So you play some of your best